Someone tried to kidnap me right on the street, grabbing me and trying to drag me away. I screamed at the top of my lungs, "I won't help you sell drugs. Help, she's a drug addict. Someone call the police and arrest them." In this new life, I swore I would never let them trick me with their dirty tactics again and be dragged off to the mountains to suffer. The traffickers who were holding me tight were completely stunned. Just as I expected. The moment the words left my mouth, the faces of the previously hesitant onlookers changed the instant they heard anything related to drugs. In this country, the moment ordinary citizens hear the word drugs, they don't hesitate to call the police. So, whether it was true or not, we were now blocked in by the very bystanders who had just been watching the spectacle. Even if these 4 traffickers wanted to flee, there was no way they could break through the crowd that had encircled us. And just like that, when the police arrived, we were all taken to the station together. There were 4 traffickers in total, 1 woman and 3 men. The woman was around 50, and the 3 men were also burly, middle-aged. Their simple, unassuming appearance gave no hint of the vile trade they were involved in. The ones I remembered as so brazen were now completely cowed. The tallest man was even scared stiff, pissing his pants in fear. My face remained calm, but inside, I was sneering. "This time, I'll use the full force of the law to put them behind bars." I remember from my past life, they used this same trick to abduct me right off the street and force me into a mountain village, where I lived a life worse than a dog's. 5 years later, my parents finally found me, but by then, it was too late. I was already terminally ill. I lay in bed, unable to move. The pain from my broken leg was excruciating. 3 days later, my birth parents were by my side. Seeing me off on my final journey, the police investigation uncovered the truth. It was all because my birth parents' adopted daughter had known of my existence for 5 years. She deliberately contacted human traffickers, using this method to have me kidnapped and taken to a remote mountain area, condemning me to a living hell. Even though she was finally caught, who could ever give me back my life? I hated so much that I refused to close my eyes even on my deathbed. To my surprise, when I opened my eyes again, I found myself standing on the street on the very day I was abducted. Before I could even rejoice in my rebirth, I saw the 4 human traffickers who had abducted me approaching. Back then, they had deliberately claimed I was a runaway and forcibly took me away, and no passerby intervened. That's why I intentionally revealed those words to the people around me. Under police interrogation, these men couldn't withstand the pressure and quickly confessed. They admitted to being human traffickers. This time, someone paid them a sum of money specifically to kidnap me and take me to the mountains, but they themselves had no idea who that person was. The police took this case extremely seriously after learning about it. Officer Zhang, the policewoman assigned to look after me, reassured me, "Thank goodness you were so quick-witted. If they had succeeded, the consequences would have been unthinkable. Don't worry, we will definitely catch the mastermind behind this. For now, try not to go out alone. Stay with your friends, and if anything happens, contact us immediately." I said gratefully, "Thank you. I already know who the mastermind behind my abduction is, but without evidence, who would believe I've been reborn? But since I've been reborn, I definitely won't let her off." Lin Chu-Chu, too. I went to report for duty with my Tsinghua University admission notice. As I stood at the school gate, tears almost welled up in my eyes. If it weren't for the last time I was trafficked to the mountains, I would have been studying hard in school. After the college entrance exam, I was admitted to Tsinghua University, which shocked the whole village, and my grandmother was also very happy. I was picked up and adopted by her, but my grandmother treated me very well and often encouraged me to study hard, especially for girls, who should not have marriage as their only option. I didn't even have the chance to properly honor her, and the next day, my grandmother passed away peacefully in her sleep. I will always remember my grandmother telling me, "Study hard, you will surely succeed in the future." And my Nguyen is going to be a doctor, and my grandmother would never know that in my previous life, my entire life was ruined. I never succeeded, and I never became a doctor. After finding my dorm, I settled in and began my campus life, but I never forgot about getting my revenge. Before I was trafficked, I actually knew Lin Chu-Chu. We attended the same high school and were even in the same class. After the college entrance exam, I got into Tsinghua University. I heard from classmates that her score wasn't even high enough for a vocational college, so she planned to repeat her final year of high school. On the day I was rescued, the truth came out, and Lin Chu was arrested. It was clearly Lin Chu who ruined my life. Yet as the police were taking her away, she was still screaming, "You're the one who ruined everything by showing up. Why don't you just die?" That's when I knew. Wicked people will never admit their wrongs, and so, I officially set my revenge plan into motion. 3. I voluntarily went to the police station for a blood draw because in my previous life, I never sought out my biological parents or took the initiative to have my DNA collected by the public security authorities, which led to my parents finding me 5 years later in the mountains. But this time is different. Sure enough, a week later, I received a call from the police, who excitedly informed me that my DNA matched with a certain family. I had found my biological parents. I pretended to be surprised, but in reality, I already knew who my biological parents were. I just needed to make everything seem plausible. I finally met my birth parents as my true self, compared to the wretched state I was in the pigsty in my previous life. At least my legs are intact this time. I thought I wouldn't cry. I thought my tears had long dried up after all the hardships of my previous life. But I still underestimated myself now. My tears still fell. My tears couldn't be held back when my mom hugged me tightly. My dad hugged me too. They held on so tightly, as if afraid of losing me again. In my previous life, they were afraid to hug me tightly because I was covered in scars, and they were scared of hurting me. During my final days, they stayed by my side the entire time. At first, I was numb and just wanted to die quickly, but they stayed with me, refusing to give up on me. I know they cried countless times behind my back. I also know that after the truth came out, they all regretted it. My parents knelt on the ground, kowtowing and apologizing to me. They believed that by adopting an ungrateful wretch, they had ruined my entire life. They also told me the truth. Back when my mother gave birth to me and was recovering at the postnatal care center, I was stolen by the maternity nurse, and Lin Chu is the daughter of my father's younger brother, born a few days after me. Lin Chu's father passed away a few months before I was born, and her mother disappeared abroad after giving birth, so they raised Lin Chu. However, they never added her to their household registration or formalized the adoption process. At school, Lin Chu called them parents, and they assumed she did so out of fear of being judged by others. Thus, they tacitly allowed her to pretend she had a complete family outside. Privately, however, they still had Lin Chu address them as uncle and aunt. I said nothing, for I had long been robbed of my voice. Those monsters had not only broken my legs but had also cut out my tongue. In the end, I don't blame them. I just hope they can live good lives. At this very moment, Mom and Dad are taking me home. They had already heard from the police that I got into Tsinghua University, but when they heard me say it with my own voice, they were still so overjoyed they laughed and cried. My mom held my hand. "My daughter is amazing, so outstanding." My dad's eyes also showed pride and admiration. "Sweetheart, we're so proud that you got into Tsinghua on your own. We didn't help you at all. But from now on, whatever you want, your mom and dad will give it to you. What do you want? What do you like?" I smiled on the surface, but inside I was thinking, I want Lin Chu to go to hell. After my parents brought me home, I also saw Lin Chu wearing a gauzy dress and precious jewelry. With an innocent, guileless smile on her face, she came skipping towards me. "Sister Nguyen, welcome home." She spread her arms wide, ready to give me an enthusiastic hug, and all I wanted to do was strangle her. Just one look at her made me sick to my stomach, for I dodged her hand, not allowing her to touch me. Lin Chu's face showed a victimized expression, and her eyes revealed a pitiful look. "Dad, Mom, does sister not like me?" I said without hesitation. "Yes." Lin Chu wore an expression of choked embarrassment. I thought my parents were going to try and smooth things over, but my mother took my hand and said, "If you don't like him, you don't like him. As long as you're happy, that's all that matters. Your dad and I won't force you to like someone you don't. Just follow your heart." My father also nodded and said, "That's my girl, always so straightforward and adorable." Lin Chu's expression grew even more unpleasant. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a fleeting glimpse of a vicious glint in her eyes, but she had no choice but to swallow it. My mother continued, Chu, when it comes down to it, you are our younger brother-in-law's daughter. After your father passed away and your mother disappeared, you had no one to care for you. We wanted to take you in, but we've told you many times, you should call us uncle and aunt. not Mom and Dad. Lin Chuchu's face became even more mortified. Her gaze turned to my father, pleading for help. My father then spoke with earnest sincerity. Chuchu, you're an adult now, 18 years old. We won't treat you like a child anymore. From now on, in public and in private, please call us uncle and auntie. Don't overthink it. You're still our niece. Lin Chuchu forced a smile at the corners of her mouth and could only nod obediently. When I entered the bedroom, I realized my parents had always kept it reserved for me and never let anyone else stay there. They had prepared all sorts of gifts for me, all placed in the room. They never gave up searching for me, and they always held on to the hope that one day I would come home, back to their side. As I hugged my mother, I could feel that they had never given up on me. My previous life was full of hardship, and it must have been just as painful for them to watch me die with their own eyes. Nuanyuan, whatever you like, Mommy will buy it for you. Dad chimed in enthusiastically. Dad will buy you one too. Only I noticed the madness and jealousy almost spilling from Lin Chuchu's eyes. Be jealous, go crazy, the crazier, the better. 5. Mom and Dad also told me they're throwing a party tomorrow to introduce me to all our relatives and friends. In the evening, Grandma also returned from her vacation abroad. This was my first time meeting the elderly woman. Her eyes sized me up briefly, and I could sense her demeanor was rather cool. In contrast, Lin Chuchu flashed her a sweet smile and cooed, Grandma. Grandma had also brought her many gifts, her eyes filled with nothing but tenderness and affection. Lin Chuchu said to me with a flaunt air, Grandma is really good to me, but why doesn't sister get a gift? She shook the jade bracelet on her wrist. Grandma smiled and said to me, I didn't even know Nuanyuan was back, so I didn't have time to prepare a gift. Here, I'll give you this bracelet. As soon as I saw it, I knew this bracelet was far inferior in quality to the one Lin Chuchu was wearing. I noticed Lin Chuchu's eyes gleaming with even more complacent, while I accepted it calmly and without any trace of inferiority or arrogance. Thank you, Grandma. After finishing dinner, Grandma set down her chopsticks gracefully and said, I have some things I want to discuss with my son. You all should go back to your rooms. My dad calmly said, we're all family here. If there's something to talk about, everyone can listen. Grandma's eyes showed a hint of displeasure, but she no longer asked us to leave. She took Chuchu's hand enthusiastically. Tomorrow you're hosting a banquet, so why not announce another piece of good news at the same time? I think it would be a double celebration. You should adopt Chuchu, and then they'll truly be sisters. I looked at my parents, still feeling a mix of anxiety and unease. Would they agree? Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the spark of anticipation in Lin Chuchu's eyes. 6. But my father flatly refused. Mom, we've been over this countless times. We have no intention of adopting Chuchu. Besides, we've raised her just fine without going through the formal adoption process. Haven't we, Mom? I really think you should drop this idea. We absolutely will not put Chuchu on our household register. I know you're worried about her future, and as her uncle, I will definitely look after her. My mother's stance was equally firm. Mom, we've been against this from the very beginning, and that goes double now that Nuanyuan is back. Grandma's voice rose. Back when you refused to adopt Chuchu, your excuse was that you were afraid your own daughter would feel displaced if she ever came home. For all these years, you didn't even have a second child, pouring all your energy into finding her. Now that Nuanyuan is back, that old hang-up of yours should be gone. Right, so what's the harm in taking in one more daughter? Doesn't Nuanyuan need a companion? They are related by blood. After all, my mother didn't back down. Mom, she said, Nuanyuan is home. Right now, our only focus is on giving her the best care we can. We simply don't have the capacity to take on anyone else. Hearing my parents' stance firsthand filled my heart with warmth and a deep sense of security. They have always been in my corner. Grandma was so furious she broke into a fit of coughing, then started yelling at my parents, calling them unfilial. At that moment, Lin Chuchu hugged her grandmother and said plaintively, Grandma, please don't get so upset on my account that you make yourself ill. It's all my fault. If you ruin your health, I'll be heartbroken. Her grandmother called her, darling, with deep affection, saying how pitiful she was with no one to care for her, having neither father nor mother. Suddenly, Grandma spotted me, and her eyes lit up. She took my hand and said, Nuan, you're the one who should talk to your parents. They'll listen to you now. Please, have some pity on your sister Chuchu. She is your blood-related sister. After all, if you could just get your parents to formally adopt her, wouldn't you become true sisters? I sneered inwardly, as if I didn't know the real reason Grandma insisted on Lin Chu Chu being formally adopted. It was so she could rightfully claim a share of the inheritance, not just as a niece, once parents given. They're likely to give a mile later on, with a smile, I replied without hesitation, but Mom and Dad said I'm their only daughter now. If I ever feel lonely, I think I'd much prefer a real little brother or sister, one who actually comes from my own mother. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught the fury blazing in Lin Chu Chu's eyes, but I couldn't have cared less. Who does she think she is? Why should I speak up for her and make her my official sister? Grandma angrily said. How can you be so selfish? I laughed. Selfish? 7. No one knows the inhuman torment I endured in my past life because of Lin Chu Chu. Lin Chu Chu is worse than an animal when dealing with someone like her. What good is kindness, tolerance, or generosity? Does it get you revenge? Does it put food on the table? Grandma, does not adopting her make me unkind and selfish? That's emotional blackmail, and it's too much. If you want to call me selfish, fine, I'll be selfish. Who in their right mind would give their own parents to a complete stranger? As long as Mom and Dad love me, that's all that matters. As for her, Grandma, do you really think she's pitiful? She has fine clothes and food, a top-tier education, her own parents looking after her, and your doting affection. So why on earth should I have to give my parents to her? Grandma stared in shock, pointing at me, but my father stepped in and shielded me behind him. Grandma spluttered furiously. Dawei, look at her. How can she be so ill-mannered? How dare she speak to me like that? Chu Chu is much more sensible than her. I saw my father, who was always the gentlest, finally show an angry expression. He cut Grandma off without hesitation. Mom, don't talk about Nuanyuan like that. She's wonderful, and I won't hear a word against her. She's our treasure. I want this to be the first and last time I hear this, or I will no longer look after Chu Chu. Hearing my father defend me like that, a wave of warmth washed over my heart. Grandma wanted to say something, but her eyes also revealed fear and hesitation. Looking at Lin Chu Chu again, her expression was truly fascinating. She reluctantly looked at me, yet still managed to put on a weak and innocent expression. Uncle, Aunt, Grandma, please don't argue over me anymore. It's my fault. I just really love Uncle and Aunt, and I really want to have parents. Even now, she's still playing the victim, trying to win sympathy. I smiled and said to Lin Chu Chu, but I'm afraid that wish of yours won't be coming true. By the way, your birthday is in 2 weeks, isn't it? You'll be turning 18. I recall the law states that only minors can be adopted. Let me wish you an early happy birthday. As soon as I finished speaking, Lin Chu Chu's face instantly changed. She exchanged a glance with her grandmother, and I could clearly see in their eyes the real reason for their urgency in wanting my parents to adopt them. She was about to come of age. At that moment, I didn't expect my father to drop a bombshell as well. Mom, I know what's on your mind. Let me be honest with you. My wife and I made a will before we found Nuanyuan. If anything happens to both of us, Nuanyuan will inherit 4/5 of our property, and the remaining 1/5 will be for your retirement. If Nuanyuan doesn't return, you'll still get 1/5, and the rest will be donated to the National Welfare Institution. All the property was earned by my wife and me after we got married, and we will handle our own assets, so even if Chu Chu truly becomes our daughter, we won't leave her any money. Grandma's chest heaved violently as she pointed at my father and said, How can you leave nothing for Chu Chu? After saying that, Grandma closed her eyes and fainted. Lin Chu Chu rushed to help Grandma up, crying out for her, yet, my heart remained utterly unmoved, given how she was so blatantly favored. It was impossible for me to feel any affection for her. What truly moved me was that my parents had always cherished me as their treasure, their unwavering favorite. However, I couldn't ignore the fact that when we got Grandma to the hospital, the look Lin Chu Chu gave me was filled with murderous intent and wild jealousy. She probably dreams of becoming my parents' daughter so she can get her hands on their money. What a shame, that dream of hers is doomed to fail. My parents have no intention of adopting her, nor will they let her get a single cent. 8. After Grandma was hospitalized, the doctor said there was nothing seriously wrong with her. However, she still made a huge fuss in the hospital. My dad, probably seeing how energetic and robust she looked, and no longer as panicked as he was initially, hired several high-end caregivers to take good care of Grandma. He still had some business at his company, so he hurried off to deal with company matters. Grandma specifically asked for me to take care of her. Otherwise she'd accuse me of being unfilial, my mother said with a laugh. We haven't even raised our own child properly. How can we demand filial piety from her? Nuanyuan still has to go to Tsinghua University. Mom, since you're so fond of Choo Choo, let Choo Choo take good care of you. My mother looked at Choo Choo and said gently, Choo Choo, Grandma dotes on you so much, you wouldn't be unwilling to take care of her, would you? A flicker of stiffness crossed Lin Choo Choo's face, but she quickly smiled and said, of course I'm willing, Grandma loves me the most, so of course I'll take good care of her. My mother took my hand and we walked out of the hospital without a second glance. My mother was worried I'd be hurt by Grandma's attitude, so she comforted me and explained why Grandma showed such favoritism. Grandma always felt she owed her youngest son, who was sickly and frail. She spoiled him, but the more she did, the more rebellious he became. After he passed away, she transferred that sense of debt onto Lin Choo Choo. I smiled and told Mom it was okay, that I really wasn't upset, because I already have my grandma who loves me the most, and my parents who care for me. I'm more curious about how my mom feels about Lin Choo Choo. Logically speaking, they raised Lin Choo Choo for over a decade, and their bond might be even deeper than with me. Mom, do you like Choo Choo? As if worried I might misunderstand, my mother quickly explained, Nuan, I would never favor Lin Choo Choo over you. With your father not here, I'll speak plainly. It was only for your father's sake that we took Choo Choo in back then. Plus, you were missing, and your grandmother was in poor health. If we hadn't taken her in, your father would have been racked with guilt. But there's one good thing about your father. At the very least, he always remembered our daughter. He was clear that our own flesh and blood was still out there suffering, so he never once thought of letting someone else take your place. At first, I thought she was quite well behaved and obedient, so I treated her well too. We never skimped on her food, clothes, or anything she needed, but after she started high school, that girl's mind became more and more calculating. Her grandmother kept pushing us to adopt her formally, and that's when I started to see she wasn't as simple as she appeared on the surface. Besides, our hearts were always with you. Finding you was our greatest wish, so my care for Choo Choo was just that of an elder looking after a younger person. I never thought of her as a replacement for you. Maybe I'm selfish, but the thought of doting on someone else as if they were you, while you were out there enduring hardship, only made me feel more guilty. Hearing my mother's words, a wave of emotion washed over me. I held her tightly. Thank goodness they never developed deep feelings for that wretch, and they never truly wanted anyone to replace me. I also inquired about the specific details of when I was stolen. My mom used to avoid talking about it. My dad said that whenever she brought it up, she would break down in tears, so I hadn't asked for details about it recently. Now, observing my mom's expression, she was silent for a moment before telling me the specific details of when she was at a confinement center and her child was stolen by the maternity matron. The woman known as Sister Wang remains missing to this day. My mother has always felt guilty, as it was her negligence that allowed Sister Wang to take me. I don't understand why she would steal my child. Over the years, I've thought countless times. Was it because I wasn't kind enough to her, or was it a wrong look, or did I say something harsh that made her uncomfortable, so she stole my child as a way to get back at me? Seeing my mother sad and in tears, I felt deeply upset as well. I wiped away her tears. It's not your fault, Mom, it's okay now, I'm back. But what I was really thinking was, if Lin Choo Choo found me faster than my own parents, that means she knew where I was. Did someone tell her where I was dumped after I was stolen all those years ago? Was that person Nanny Wang? I have a strong suspicion that my kidnapping all those years ago is somehow connected to Lin Choo Choo. No, wait, to someone she knows. Ever since I came back, my parents have been worried I might not have enough pocket money, so they've given me plenty. I used it to hire a private investigator to keep a close eye on Lin Choo Choo's every move. I know perfectly well that Lin Choo Choo won't just let this go. As long as I stay with my parents, she won't give up on coming after me. 9. The following evening, at the banquet, through my parents' introduction, everyone present learned that I was their long-lost daughter. Returned to them, I was the true heiress of the Lin family. they also took the opportunity to clarify what had been left unsaid before, revealing that Lin Chuchu's true identity was actually the daughter of my father's younger brother, although Lin Chuchu was also smiling beside me, appearing to be happy for me. I clearly saw the madness and jealousy hidden in her eyes, especially, she was staring at the jewelry on my body. It was mainly because my mom felt too guilty and was determined to be good to me, so she bought me a lot of jewelry, insisting on decorating me like a Christmas tree. I was wearing 2 imperial green jade bracelets on my wrists and a $1 million ruby necklace around my neck. Especially the quality of the jade bracelets was better than the jade my grandmother gave to Lin Chuchu. Plus, my mom heard somewhere that girls dream of becoming princesses, so she bought several princess tiaras at an auction and insisted I wear them, so even if I just stood there quietly, my extravagant outfit alone was enough to draw everyone's attention. However, I also noticed Lin Chuchu's strange and excited gaze, which kept landing on me several times. I calmly smiled. Of course I knew what she was up to. Not only did I have a private investigator tailing her, but I also hacked into her computer. I knew her every move, which naturally included how this scumbag anonymously contacted a high school classmate named Nkuen, planning to pull some shady stunt at the banquet. Sipping my AD calcium milk, I settled in to enjoy the spectacle that was about to unfold. Just then, a man in a suit walked in. I took one look and recognized him immediately. It was my high school classmate, Nkuen. In high school, he kept harassing me, and later got expelled for fighting. As soon as Nkuen saw me, his eyes revealed a disgusting and greedy gaze. Whenever I think about high school, when he ignored my repeated rejections and harassed me every break, I feel disgusted. Nkuen's appearance is quite handsome, but his disgusting and lecherous gaze would linger on the girls, his body looking drained, and he liked to make vulgar jokes to the girls whenever he had the chance. Nkuen spotted me and came striding over like a starving wolf eyeing its prey. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Lin Chuchu's lips curl into a smirk, clearly waiting to see me make a fool of myself. Before I could even speak, my mother immediately stepped in to shield me. My father frowned and signaled for the bodyguards to block Nkuen's path. Nkuen then took out a remote control that had already been prepared, pressed a button, and the projector started playing a video. I remained calm, not feeling the slightest bit nervous. Next, a woman appeared on the projector, dancing in a nightclub with several people, and by the end, everyone was taking off their clothes. The woman's face was unmistakably Lin Chuchu. Lin Chuchu's expression changed in an instant, and she let out a disbelieving shriek. "What is this? Turn it off, now." I pretended to watch the video with an innocent look on my face, but inside, I was absolutely delighted. I specifically requested this video from the nightclub, and I paid a premium for it. Of course, I made the purchase anonymously. Little do they know, even though I chose to study medicine, I have a strong interest in computers. Hacking into a system and swapping out the original video was child's play for me. Back when Lin Chuchu anonymously emailed Nkuen, instructing him to follow her orders, I had already remotely accessed her computer. I sent Nkuen another email, and the attachment was none other than Lin Chuchu's own video. So, from start to finish, Nkuen believed he was following the email's instructions to get revenge on Lin Chuchu, and all the while, Lin Chuchu thought the person she was ordering Nkuen to target was me. What about me? I just want them to turn on each other. 10. At that moment, the entire crowd erupted in boos. My mother covered my eyes, as if looking any longer would taint my soul. It was my father who told everyone to keep their eyes shut. He ordered the bodyguards to grab the remote control immediately and to unplug the power. Lin Chuchu ran off screaming, crying as she fled. "That's not me, the photo's been doctored. Someone's trying to frame me." Watching this scene, I could barely hold back my laughter. I never actually intended to save it for last. My only goal was to show everyone that the real hypocrite here is Lin Chuchu. Lin Chuchu's plan was to have Nkuen come and cause trouble for me, then publicly play a photoshopped video of me. She wanted all the socialites to think my past private life was a mess and ruin my reputation. What I'm going to do is give her a taste of her own medicine. After Lin Chuchu ran off, Nkuen was also forcibly dragged away by the bodyguards, and my father called the police. I thought the banquet was ruined, but my dad, my mom, and the guests acted as if nothing had happened and continued chatting and laughing at the event. But this is just on the surface. In reality, everyone has already remembered the big drama that unfolded tonight. Starting today, Lin Chuchu's reputation is completely ruined. This is just a small revenge of mine, and it's only the beginning. That evening, my parents were chatting with some familiar uncles and aunts. My mom, seeing how exhausted I was, let me go back first. At the door of the room, Lin Chuchu was already waiting. She glared at me fiercely, no longer wearing her fake smile. Her eyes filled with resentment. She accused loudly, "Did you mess things up behind my back?" I smiled faintly. "What did I do? I have no idea what you're talking about. Do you think I'm stupid? Can I admit it?" Lin Chuchu tried to pull my hair, but I unhesitatingly slapped her across the face. This slap, I've been wanting to give for a long time. Lin Chuchu stared at me in disbelief. "You dare to hit me?" I slapped her again, fast and hard. "That's right, I'm hitting you. What can you do to me? Go ahead, complain. If you have the guts to complain, I have the guts to get mom and dad to kick you out. I'll just say you tried to hit me, and I was forced to defend myself. Do you think my birth parents will believe me or believe you? It's a pity I can only slap her twice now. Take it easy, there's plenty of time," I said to myself. Lin Chuchu's eyes flashed with venom. "Don't get too cocky. I won't let you off the hook." I couldn't be bothered with her. I just went straight into the bedroom and closed the door. "Humph, that's my line. I won't let you get away with this." Lin Chuchu, 11, at the police station, and Kun admitted that someone had put him up to it. He claimed that he had only received an email. The email said that if he followed the steps, he could get a large sum of money. He actually received an advance payment first. Lin Chuchu was also called in for a talk, and she kept crying grievance, saying it was photo-edited, accusing Kun of being shameless and deliberately ruining her reputation. How could I not understand? Lin Chuchu is swallowing her teeth. She won't admit to having instigated Kun. In the end, Kun was arrested, and while Lin Chuchu managed to escape unscathed, her reputation was ruined now. Whenever people in the industry mention her, they laugh at how she pretends to be as pure and innocent as a white lotus, never expecting her true nature to be so different. It's not that you can't play around, but being two-faced is another matter entirely. After hearing about this in the hospital, Grandma was genuinely sick with anger this time. Lin Chuchu explained grievously that the picture was photoshopped, and Grandma actually believed her. However, my parents went to investigate specifically and naturally knew whether these videos were real or fake. That evening, my dad had a talk with Lin Chuchu, although I have no idea what they actually talked about. The next day, Lin Chuchu left home, her eyes red and swollen, crying grievously. Before leaving, Lin Chuchu glared at me fiercely, her eyes filled with venomous hatred. I coldly watched her shadow as she was kicked out of my house. I knew this battle was far from over. She won't let me off, and I won't let her off either. A few days later, the private detective contacted me on their own initiative, saying they had found that Lin Chuchu had been frequently contacting someone recently. According to the private detective's report, they discovered that Lin Chuchu had met with a middle-aged woman. They took a surreptitious photo, and when I saw it, the middle-aged woman in the picture was none other than Lin Chuchu's long-lost mother, Lu Guimei. It turned out that Lin Chuchu's mother had been by her side all along, yet she still shamelessly wanted to take away my parents, my position, and my family's property. 12. The detective also recorded an audio clip for me, which was a conversation between Lin Chuchu and her mother, Lu Guimei. They thought the private room was secure, unaware that the private detective had disguised himself as a waiter, bringing an invisible listening device to the table while serving tea and water. Then leaving, I heard the content of the recording. "Mom, that little bitch is back. It's all because of her that they don't even want to adopt me, and they're not planning to give me a single cent. All the family property is going to that country bumpkin. I really can't stand it. I've been sucking up to them for all these years, and they treat me like this." Lin Chuchu sobbed bitterly. "And I have to serve that old hag every day. It's disgusting." "Don't worry, Chuchu, we still have a chance. Mom has been planning for so many years. How could we let all this go to waste? I told you long ago, everything in the Lin family will be yours. But that bitch is back." "Mom, how did those people mess up? Didn't we agree to sell her off to some poor mountain area so she'd never show her face in front of them again? How did they still find her? I don't know how that little brat escaped. Everything was supposed to be foolproof." I listened to their conversation, my fists clenched tight. Of course, Lin Chu couldn't have trafficked me to the mountains all by herself. It's a shame I died too soon in my past life. The people behind Lin Chu were never exposed, and I never learned the full truth back then. At the same time, all the painful memories of being trafficked in the mountains came flooding back into my mind. My whole body trembled, and a wave of nausea churned in my stomach. I won't let them get away with this, Lin Chu continued. Mom, what do we do now? Lu Guimei first chuckled, then said, don't worry, Chu, I won't let her stand in your way. Since she wasn't trafficked to the mountains, fine, I'll have her trafficked to Myanmar instead. She brought this on herself. I didn't want to kill her originally, but once she's in Myanmar, she won't be coming back alive. Myanmar, those two bastards even wanted to kidnap me and take me to Myanmar, I overheard their plan. Lu Guimei knows a guy called Brother Wu. I immediately hired a private investigator to look into this. Brother Wu. Shortly after, I received word. Wu Gu is a small local boss who organizes workers to go to Myanmar for work, charging per person. You have to pay him a fee if you want to work abroad, and only then will he introduce you to a job in Myanmar. It turns out that Wu Gu was using the guise of working abroad to traffic people overseas. After thinking it over all night, I've made my decision. 13. A week later, as I left the campus and was about to head home, a car pulled up at the gate. It was my family's car. The driver was a new face, smiling as he opened the door for me and then let me in. After getting in the car, I immediately felt the air inside was strange, with a peculiar smell and a stifling atmosphere. Before long, I felt my head throbbing more and more, and my consciousness gradually dissipated like smoke. When I woke up again, I found myself lying on a hard floor, my body still feeling groggy. Then, a bucket of water was thrown on me, and the chill seemed to penetrate to my bones, instantly waking me up completely. I opened my eyes and saw Lin Chu looking down at me, her eyes filled with smug satisfaction. Lin Chu kicked me hard, and my chest throbbed with pain. Little bitch, are you still feeling smug now? It's your existence that has taken everything away from me. I coldly stared at her. Unafraid, you're the real bitch. Those things were never yours to begin with, whether it's the family fortune or my parents. Lin Chu laughed even more wildly. You're still putting up a tough front at a time like this. Forget it, I'll kindly remind you. Do you know where I'm going to take you? I looked at her coldly. The more this happened, the calmer I became. Maybe it's because I've had too many painful experiences in my past life, so I'm not afraid of these dangerous moments. It's Myanmar. I'll sell you to Myanmar first, where those people will torture you every day, making you wish you were dead. Once you have no more use value, you'll die in Myanmar, and you'll never want to come back in this lifetime. Was it you who tried to abduct me last time? Yes, it was. Unfortunately, you escaped that time, but no matter, this time, you won't be getting away. I'm going to sell you to a much farther place. I suddenly laughed. What are you laughing at? Lin Chu demanded. I'm laughing because Lin Chu just turned 18 a few days ago. She's an adult now, and with her pulling this stunt again, she can no longer expect a lighter sentence for being a minor. This just adds to her crimes. I'm laughing at how stupid and greedy you are, I sneered without holding back. In the end, Lin Chu in this life is just a newly minted adult, foolish and greedy, but I am no longer the naive person I was right after the college entrance exams. Someone who simply wanted to study hard and become a doctor. No one knows that I clawed my way out of hell for one reason only, to drag Lin Chu and her dear mother right back down with me. Lin Chu tried to kick me again, but she was held back by a middle-aged man with dark, weathered skin standing beside her. The man's eyes were filled with greed as he stared at me like I was a piece of merchandise. Stop kicking her, he said. You might damage the goods. She's worth a lot of money now. Hearing this, the anger in Lin Chu's eyes quickly turned to delight. Brother Wu, she said, I'm handing her over to you. You'd better treat her well. Wu Ji's face lit up with a lecherous smile. Don't worry, I'll definitely treat such a beautiful woman well. But the next second, the door was hastily opened. Boss, it's bad, the police are here. So many of them. The guy with red hair came to report. Wu Ji's face immediately showed panic. Lin Chu was stunned, her hands trembling. Why are the police here? I, however, wasn't the least bit surprised. It was all going exactly as I had anticipated. the day I found out that Lin Chu and her mother were in cahoots with human traffickers, and that they still had a batch of merchandise to move, I knew I had to act. Since no one knew their current whereabouts, my first move was to call the police. I wanted to volunteer to go undercover. According to the conversation I overheard on the recording, I'm the last one in this shipment. The others are all being held in a hidden location. The police can only locate the other captives once I'm delivered to their hidden lair. So, ever since I was drugged and brought here, the tracker planted on me has been leading the police right to this place, exposing their main base of operations. Wu Ge frantically tried to escape, still holding a gun. Lin Chu also panicked and was about to leave when her eyes glared at me fiercely. No, you too. Lin Chu grabbed the table lamp, her eyes revealing a crazed intent to kill. I knew she wanted to kill me. She won't let me off the hook. 14, but by the time she got close, I had already slipped free of the ropes. They thought to bribe the driver to kidnap me, but it never occurred to them that I had already cut a deal with him for a much higher price. I was the one who orchestrated his delivery right to their doorstep, so when the driver tied me up, he didn't bind me tightly. It was a special slip knot, one I could wriggle out of with the right technique. When Lin Chu approached me, I didn't run. Instead, I stood up and kicked her to the ground with all my might. Ever since I came back, I've been in the gym every single day, pounding away at the heavy bag for hours on end. Every time, I picture the punching bag as Lin Chu. Every punch I throw feels like payback for every ounce of pain she ever caused me. But now, everything is different. Finally, Lin Chu was standing right in front of me, flesh and blood. I slapped her hard across the face. Lin Chu let out a sharp cry, utterly defenseless against my blows. This time, I saw it clearly in Lin Chu's eyes, beyond the look of disgust. There was also a gaze filled with fear and pain, but this is nothing compared to the torment I endured in my past life. I was beaten every single day. Each time, I lived like an animal. Every day, I wanted to die. At that moment, Lin Chu's mother, Lu Guimei, entered. Lin Chu seemed like she had seen a savior. Mom, kill her. Hurry and kill her. Lin Chu, why are you still bothering with her? Escape is the priority. Do you want to go to jail? Lin Chu's face was covered in wounds, and her eyes were finally filled with nothing but terror. I can't be caught. I can't go to jail. With that, Lin Chu shoved me aside and ran off with Lu Guimei. I watched as Lin Chu fled in a panic. Just before she left, Lin Chu snarled at me, "I'll be back. You haven't seen the last of me." But Lin Chu, do you have any idea that sometimes, sending you to prison would be a mercy? But the pity is, I don't even want to grant you that mercy. If you're hell-bent on self-destruction, I won't stand in your way. 15. The operation successfully rescued 105 individuals who were about to be trafficked to Myanmar, apprehended 30 suspects, and identified 5 others who had already slipped away via backroads and reached the Myanmar border. The police expressed their gratitude to me, as my undercover work was instrumental in rescuing the trafficking victims. I responded that it was simply a citizen's duty. Watching those people weep with joy, I thought to myself, saving them felt like saving the person I used to be. Back then, I had fallen into a bottomless abyss and desperately wished for someone to save me. In my past life, I finally received that help. Just 3 days before I died, when the police took me home, my parents found out what had happened. My mother held me and sobbed loudly, while my father's eyes glistened with tears. How could you do something so dangerous? You're killing your parents. Tears streamed down my face, and I felt deep guilt within. I'm sorry, but I don't regret it. I must have my revenge, and I must also save those who, like me, have fallen into the abyss. Mom, Dad, it's okay now. I'll never do those things again. The 3 of us held each other tightly. This time, our family would never be separated again. 1 year later, a joint cross-border rescue operation between Myanmar police and domestic police forces saved many trafficked citizens. I just received news, and it included Lu Guimei and Lin Chu. It is said that after they ran to Myanmar, they didn't expect to be sold by human traffickers. Lin Chu has gone mad and has been specially admitted to a psychiatric hospital. After Lu Guimei returned, she confessed all her crimes during the interrogation. One of her crimes was that, out of jealousy for her sister-in-law, who is my mother, she bribed the nanny at the time to take me away while my mother was in confinement. Originally, Lu Guimei had instructed the nanny to throw me into the river and drown me, but for some reason, Whether out of fear or a last shred of humanity, the nanny didn't kill me. Instead, she took me back to her village and gave me to her childless foster parents to raise. Later, Lu Guimei didn't refuse the idea of becoming a wealthy socialite, but that's because she ended up in prison during a trip abroad. She got jealous, got into a fight overseas, and was sentenced to over a decade in prison for intentional injury. She was released from prison and returned to the country just this year. She secretly contacted Lin Chu while simultaneously advising her, plotting for Lin Chu to be adopted and subsequently inherit the entire Lin family fortune. After I got into university, the confinement nanny, strapped for cash, thought of Lu Guimei and the events of that year, using them to blackmail her. That's how Lu Guimei found out I hadn't died, that I was still alive, and had even been admitted to Tsinghua University. So, she still had no intention of letting me go. She bribed human traffickers to sell me into the remote mountains. When the first attempt failed, she tried a second time, aiming to have me sold into Myanmar. Since her husband passed away, she's been hanging out with those people from the underworld. In fact, even before she got married, she was a little troublemaker who knew a lot of people from the underworld and had many connections. Wu Gu is one of her old flames. Meanwhile, the police also mentioned another piece of information revealed by Lu Guimei. Lin Chu is not the biological daughter of my parents and brother. After learning about this, my grandmother remained silent. This time, she's completely fallen ill. From now on, no one is allowed to mention the names of Lin Chu and Lu Guimei. Her attitude towards me has softened a lot compared to before, but she still can't get close to me. But that's okay, because I have my parents' love. Later, I was granted special permission to visit Lin Chu, who was being held. I watched Lin Chu sitting on the hospital bed, like a lifeless puppet, silent. No one knows what she experienced in Myanmar or why she went mad. As I looked into her eyes, I whispered in her ear, "If you're faking it, you'd better do it for life and make it more convincing. Don't worry, you'll never leave the mental hospital." When I opened the door, I noticed her eyelashes flutter slightly. I gave a soft chuckle. Whether in a psychiatric hospital or a prison, her fate would be confinement. A few months later, it was exposed that Lin Chu was faking insanity. I had specifically hired a world-renowned psychiatric expert at great expense to evaluate her, and her deceptive tricks were laid bare before such professional scrutiny. She was still sentenced to prison. Later, when she was finally released, she had nothing left. Even though I stopped seeking revenge on her and no longer interfered in her life, focusing instead on my own, her life spiraled downward, and she completely gave up on herself. She became a societal outcast, living in the gutter, and relied on alcohol to get through each day. Within a few years, she truly lost her mind and ended up in a psychiatric hospital. After graduating, I went on to earn my PhD and eventually became a doctor. I brought my parents to see the grandmother I truly admire. At the tombstone, I said in my heart, "Grandma, I have finally fulfilled my promise to you. In this lifetime, I have made something of myself. My life hasn't been ruined in this lifetime, thankfully. Our family is finally reunited, and my parents love me dearly. In this life, I will definitely love my parents deeply." Side story. Before Rebirth, perspective of Nguyen's birth parents, Lu Guimei was sentenced to death for her involvement in multiple human trafficking crimes, including several murder cases. Years later, Lin Chu was released from prison. She was involved in the human trafficking case of Nguyen, though not the mastermind, and was sentenced to several years in prison. As she was walking down the street, a car suddenly rammed into her at full speed. She was killed on the spot, her eyes wide open as if she couldn't believe she was dying. The middle-aged woman in the luxury car made no attempt to flee. Instead, she sat quietly, gazing at the photo in her hand of her daughter standing before Tsinghua University. She was Luo Ziying, Nguyen's biological mother. A smile touched her lips, devoid of any regret or fear. She gently kissed the photo of her beaming daughter and whispered, "My darling, Mommy has avenged you." Then, she closed her eyes. As well, she had already made up her mind to be with her baby before doing this. She was only a mother to her baby for 3 days, but being a mother means protecting her baby for a lifetime. "Don't be afraid, baby, Mommy is here." A few days later, an old man with completely white hair stood before the tombstones of his wife and daughter, gently caressing their photos. "Wait for me to take care of our affairs after death, and then I'll come to you. Be good, wait for me. If there's a next life, we Must be happy as a family in the next life, and we must never be separated again. The wind brushed past his cheek, taking away his tears, and it was unclear if they had heard. Story 2. Father always favored my sister, giving her the best of everything. He splurged on a white tiger beast man for her, yet made me settle for the cheapest snow fox, claiming it was for my own good, that I couldn't handle a powerful beast man. For the first time, I rebelled, choosing the notorious, temperamental snow wolf. Instead, for I knew when the scorching apocalypse came, the glacial tundra ruled by snow wolves would become humanity's last sanctuary. 1. On my sister's and my coming-of-age day, Father took us to select beast men. Father spared no expense to acquire a mighty white tiger beast man for my sister. When it was my turn, he said there was no money left and told me to pick something cheap. I'd long grown accustomed to Father's favoritism. What could I expect? Sickly since childhood and nowhere near as pretty or charming as my sister. I never dared compete with my sister, knowing I'd lose no matter what. So when Father told me to pick something cheap, I didn't dare refuse, because refusal meant getting nothing at all. My sister's gaze was drawn to the frail white fox in the cage, and she eagerly pulled me over. Little sister, choose him, he looks so pitiful. Before I could even agree, she was already asking our father to pay. She knew I'd never dare, nor would I ever, refuse her, but this time, I shook off her hand and said with a smile, "Sis, I've made my choice, and it's not him." My sister looked both stunned and displeased, her brows knitting together. "How can you be so unreasonable? Father already said we can't afford it. You mustn't." Ignoring her, I pointed at the large iron cage in the corner and turned to my father. "Father, that snow wolf is cheaper. I want him." Both my sister and father were baffled by my decision. Even my usually indifferent father tried to dissuade me. "That snow wolf has a terrible reputation, wild and untamable. You'll never be able to control him." Yet I insisted, "Father, I want the snow wolf." Little did they know, the snow wolf was the sovereign ruler of the glacial tundra, the last sanctuary for humanity when the scorching apocalypse arrives. Forming a pact with him would drastically increase my chances of survival. Father didn't object further. After all, we'd come to the exchange primarily to select a beastkin for my sister. I was just an afterthought. The snow wolf came cheap anyway, so he was happy to save some coins. The snow fox that had been playing dead in its cage suddenly looked up in shock, its fragile gaze shattering like glass. "Lumi, are you abandoning me?" So he had been reborn too. In my past life, I'd chosen this white fox on my sister's advice. I tended to his wounds with utmost care and devoted all my resources to his training. Finally molded him into a formidable beast man rivaling the white tiger himself, yet he began to scorn me, claiming I paled in comparison to my sister at every turn, unworthy to be his master. When the scorching apocalypse came, faced with an impossible choice, he chose to save my sister, leaving me to burn in the celestial flames. Only then did I realize he'd always loved her, resenting me for binding us together too soon, stealing his chance with her forever. If he loves her that much, who am I to stand in their way? I strode resolutely toward the snow wolf and asked, "Will you come with me?" His gaze remained defiant, regal as a monarch's. I expected him to refuse. After all, he was notorious at the beast folk exchange for being difficult, all because he refused to form a life-death pact with humans and repeatedly attempted escapes. Those wounds were the marks of his failed escape attempts, but credit where it's due. That snow wolf's stubbornness paid off. After countless failed attempts, he finally broke free. He returned to the glacial tundra and established a mighty orc kingdom, becoming humanity's equal rival. He studied me for a moment before finally saying, "I don't form life-death pacts with humans. Would you still take me with you under these terms?" I tentatively asked, "What about a soulmate bond instead?" "A life-death pact makes humans the masters and beast folk the servants. The partner contract establishes an equal, strictly monogamous bond between both parties. In human-dominated societies, orcs have little bargaining power. Most end up as beast slaves to mankind." My words visibly startled him. It suddenly lunged at me from across the cage, startling all the onlookers. I stood my ground without flinching, meeting his gaze with unwavering courage. A smirk finally played on his lips. "No regrets. Not afraid I'll turn on you." I shook my head. "If you were truly deceitful, you wouldn't be bearing these wounds." He could have easily played the fox, feigning submission to exploit a kind woman's trust, draining her worth before casting her aside. His eyes flickered slightly as he scoffed, Don't think sweet talk will work on me, I frowned. So that's a no, rejection's fine. It's not like he's my only option. Since I knew about the coming heat apocalypse, I'd reached the ice fields before him, with mighty beast men by my side. Becoming the glacier lord isn't beyond my reach. Just as I averted my gaze to pick another target, the snow wolf's voice grew urgent. Who said I refused? Once you've chosen me, your eyes belong to me alone. I stared at him in confusion, only to notice his slightly flushed ears and uneasy gaze. With a gentle smile, I reached out my hand. Deal. Just as I was about to form a pact with the snow wolf, the Arctic fox suddenly protested. Lumi, you'll regret this. He despises humankind. He won't save you. Before I could speak, the snow wolf pulled me into his embrace and let out an earth-shaking roar at the snow fox. The snow fox immediately coughed up blood, its injuries worsening. The snow wolf finally spoke in a low voice. Consider this a minor warning. Next time, vomiting blood will be the least of your problems. Without a care for the onlookers, they wrapped an arm around me and strode off. The snow fox let out a mournful cry of protest behind us. In the end, my sister took the snow fox home, where it kept her company alongside the white tiger. 3. My sister seemed quite fond of it, too, yet I clearly remember, in our past life, elder sister always looked down on the snow fox. I never understood why she brought him home. Only now, the snow fox no longer dotes on her with undivided devotion. Instead, he keeps making a show of himself before me. He even traded the spirit stones elder sister gave him for a golden bracelet to gift me. It was identical to the one he gave my sister in our past life. In that previous life, I bent over backwards to please him, giving him all the meager resources I had, yet he used the spirit stones I couldn't bear to spend to buy gifts for my sister. I remember on my sister's 19th birthday, he gifted her an extravagant golden bracelet, but it was also my birthday that day. And he gave me nothing, just a careless, I forgot. Before turning away, I met his eager, hopeful gaze and coldly knocked the bracelet from his outstretched hands. Bother me again, and I'll tell my sister. She has no patience for two-timing beast men. I turned without hesitation, only to face the snow wolf's vicious snarl. The snow fox seemed to ignore my warning and stubbornly chased after me. Lumi, can't you just give me one more chance? Before I could respond, the snow wolf pulled me into his embrace and slashed at the fox with bared claws. The fox didn't even dodge. A crimson flower of blood bloomed instantly across its chest. He slumped to the ground, looking at me with pitiful eyes. I knew what he was hoping for, yet I focused solely on checking Snow Wolf's injuries. Your wounds haven't healed yet. How could you act so recklessly? Snow Fox's face turned deathly pale in an instant. I ignored him, supporting the Snow Wolf as we walked away, leaving him standing there dumbfounded. After what felt like an eternity, the Snow Fox's desolate voice finally reached me from behind. Lumi, you always loved me most. In the past, my heart would have ached unbearably, and I'd have rushed to him without a second thought, yet my heart remained utterly unmoved, only finding him utterly irritating. So this is the vast difference between love and indifference. No wonder he couldn't stand me in our past life. In that instant, I felt a weight lift, my resentment toward him noticeably fading. Back in the room, the Snow Wolf suddenly pinned me down on the bed, insisting on completing the final step of our mating bond. Flustered, I quickly explained, this ritual isn't mandatory. You have complete freedom with me. I only chose him as my insurance policy for surviving the apocalypse. I never truly wanted to be his partner. Do as you please. You're free to leave anytime. Only by leaving me could he unleash his full potential and conquer the frozen wilderness, but he seemed to misunderstand, his gaze turning dangerous as he asked, are you still thinking about that snow fox? I was stunned and shook my head in denial. He stared out the window with a dangerous glint in his eyes. Yet he seems to keep thinking about you. Is there something between you two that I don't know? My brief silence seemed to enrage him. He lunged at me, pinning me down before sinking his teeth gently into my neck. It's all right. I'll erase him completely from your heart. Just like this, his cool breath against my neck sent shivers down my spine. I tried to explain, but he silenced me with his lips. His cool lips and tongue swept in unhindered, throwing my mind and body into disarray. Damn, how is he this good? I couldn't help muttering to myself with growing irritation, suspecting he'd had considerable practice before me. Then in the next instant, he nipped my tongue sharply, just as I was about to scold him. I felt his breath against my ear as he growled a warning. if you keep zoning out, I'll punish you properly. His knee had just parted my thighs when the door burst open violently. A snow fox came flying backward, crashing heavily onto my floor, for the white tiger beast man charged in, and with a swipe of his claws, 5 deep gashes instantly appeared on the snow fox's body. My elder sister rushed over just in time to stop the white tiger. The snow wolf wrapped me tightly in a blanket and roared furiously, "Get out!" when my sister noticed the snow wolf's open collar revealing his chiseled muscles. Her face flushed crimson with maidenly shyness. She deliberately turned her head away, yet couldn't resist stealing a glance. The white tiger's eyes turned blood red in an instant, abandoning the snow fox to fixate on my snow wolf. His voice dropped to a predatory growl. "Talia is mine. Anyone who dares challenge me shall die." With that, he swung his razor-sharp claws at the snow wolf. The snow wolf, fearing I might get caught in the crossfire, crouched and shielded me with his body, taking the brutal hit. Pain instantly darkened his icy blue eyes to a stormy indigo as murderous intent surged forth. After shoving me aside, he lunged at the white tiger. When 2 powerful beast men clashed, the sheer force of their battle was nothing to scoff at. Fearing the dire wolf might worsen its injuries, I threw on my coat and rushed out to intervene. My sister suddenly sneered. "So little sister chose the dire wolf for bedroom pleasures." Tisk. I had no time for her taunts. The dire wolf's safety was all that mattered, but no matter how I shouted, those 2 beast men refused to back down. The elder sister sneered again. "The snow wolf is decent, but it's nowhere near as good as my white tiger." "Little sister, if the snow wolf gets killed, don't blame me." She made no move to stop them, instead watching the fierce battle with keen interest. The white tiger beast man fought with savage brutality, every strike aimed to kill. The snow wolf was already wounded, its movements sluggish as it retreated under relentless assault. The elder sister grew more triumphant, clapping her hands and shouting, "White tiger, finish him." But in the next instant, her smirk vanished. With a single frostbite spell, the snow wolf instantly froze the white tiger beast man into an ice sculpture. The surroundings fell deathly silent. Even the spectating snow fox stood frozen in shock, unable to snap out of it. I was somewhat taken aback myself. I knew the snow wolf was powerful, but never expected him to master such formidable ice magic this early. In my past life, it was only by chance that I obtained the Frost Pearl, awakening the snow fox's spiritual power and mastering ice magic. TSK, what a lucky find. My sister's face contorted instantly, her once beautiful eyes now clouded with jealousy. Just then, father arrived. Upon hearing the commotion, the elder sister threw herself into her father's arms and sobbed, "Daddy, the white tiger was killed by little sister's snow wolf. Make her give that snow wolf to me right now." So that was her game. She wanted to claim the snow wolf for herself. As always, father showed blatant favoritism. Without even hearing the full story, he commanded me, "Terminate your contract with the snow wolf and give him to your sister as compensation." A glint of triumph flashed in sister's eyes as she pretended to be magnanimous. "Lumi, just hand over the snow wolf. I'll pay for you to pick another beast man." I scoffed. "No need. I have no intention of giving Snow Wolf to you. He's my beastman partner, not some tradable commodity." My sister looked stunned. This was already the second time I'd refused her, but she still wasn't used to it. Flushed with anger, "Lumi, have I been too lenient with you?" Without warning, she drew the whip she always carried and lashed it viciously toward me. Father made no move to intervene. In this house, I'm their punching bag. I can't even try to avoid it, because dodging only makes the beating worse. I shut my eyes, bracing for the whip's lash, but the wait proved endless. When I opened my eyes, Maddox was gripping my sister's whip, growling with unmistakable menace. My sister stumbled backward in terror, collapsing onto the ground. Father flew into a rage. "You damned beast! How dare you bare fangs at your masters! Guards, take this snow wolf away and beat it to death." The orcs in the manor immediately sprang into action, surrounding Maddox. I stepped forward to shield him, mustering the courage to confront my father for the first time. "No one lays a finger on him. You'll have to kill me first." My sister had regained her composure, but seeing our deep bond only fueled her rage. "Father, Lumi has always been docile, but ever since encountering that orc, she's become utterly unruly. The orc must have bewitched her mind. That creature cannot be allowed to live. What she cannot possess, she'll never let me have either, just like the kite I painstakingly crafted as a child. The moment she fancied it, she snatched it away. I refused to give it to her. She tore my kite to pieces right then and there. Not only did I lose my beloved kite, but I also got a brutal beating from that day on. I never dared to argue with her over anything again, but this time, I won't back down. Father, don't hurt Maddox. I'll take him away and never set foot in Tianua City again. Father froze momentarily. Never thought I'd leave the human settlement of Tianua City for an orc's sake. 5. Beyond these borders lies nothing but treacherous wilderness, the wild swarm with orcs who despise mankind. They'll tear any lone traveler limb from limb. When my sister heard I meant to exile myself, she urgently pleaded with Father, Father, she's clearly lost her senses, let her have her way. Once she's suffered enough out there, she'll realize how well we've treated her. Father seemed hesitant. I suppose being his blood, he may not love me, but he doesn't wish me dead either, so he issued an ultimatum, give the orc to your sister. And neither he needs to die nor you need to leave. A smug smile spread across my sister's face as she tilted her chin up, clearly convinced I'd yield. Little sister, you should listen to Father. With your skills, leaving Tianua City would be suicide. How about I trade you the snow fox for it? My gaze fell upon the silent snow fox. I wonder how he felt upon hearing such words. My sister never saw orcs as equals. To her, they were lowly creatures fit only for servitude. The occasional kindness she showed them was merely to ensure their loyalty, yet to my surprise, he responded with eager delight, I'd gladly obey the young mistress' orders and trade places with the snow wolf. Seeing his eagerness, a flash of anger crossed her eyes, but the snow wolf fascinated her more, so she bit her tongue and said in a sickly sweet tone, I've put considerable effort into raising this snow fox. His worth now rivals the snow wolf's. Lumi, you should be content. I shot the snow fox a disgusted look. He's not even fit to polish Maddox's boots. A smirk tugged irresistibly at Maddox's lips, his striking blue eyes gleaming brighter than ever. The snow fox's face drained of color, its wounded body swaying unsteadily before nearly collapsing. My sister's face turned livid with rage. Father, I don't care what you say. She killed my white tiger. She must pay for this. Father's temper flared at my unyielding stance, his fleeting compassion vanishing like smoke. Then get the hell out of Skybliss City with him. From this moment, you're no daughter of mine. With that, he revoked the family crest and ordered guards to banish both Maddox and me from the city. I left without hesitation, not a single backward glance, for I knew the celestial flames would soon descend, turning Skybliss into a living hell. This time, I won't give my sister even a sliver of survival, because Maddox and I must reach the glacial tundra first, to claim the last untainted land in this post-cataclysm world. No sooner had we left the family estate than Maddox suddenly coughed up blood, staggered, and collapsed to his knees. Only then did I realize, though he'd won that battle, the victory came at a brutal cost. I'm fine. He wiped the blood from his mouth and gave me a weak smile. My heart clenched as I helped him up, ready to take him to the doctor. After handing the snow wolf to the physician, I set out to gather supplies. Horses, provisions, and water were essential, along with warm clothing and bedding for the glacial plains ahead. Just as I finished shopping and was about to return to Maddox, Snow Fox intercepted me on the way. I was ready to ignore him when I heard him say, Lumi, I'm giving you one last chance. Come with me, I'll protect you with my life this time. I narrowed my eyes at him, suddenly remembering the injured Maddox. I panicked, move, but Snow Fox grabbed me. It's too late, he was killed by Talia. Snow Fox told me that Talia had people tailing us the moment Maddox and I stepped out. Seeing Maddox wounded, she bribed the physician to poison him. Not even 9 lives could have saved Maddox from this fate. At that moment, I could have killed someone. Then it hit me. Snow Wolf and I had a soul bond. If he died, I'd know instantly. I stole a glance at the mark on my wrist. Still there, but I knew my sister too well. What she wanted, she'd stop at nothing to get. The Snow Fox appearing before me proves my sister did go after the Snow Wolf. She just couldn't bring herself to kill him. If I'm not mistaken, my sister must have taken the Snow Wolf back to our clan. By now, did my sister send you to kill me? The Snow Fox nodded, yet vowed earnestly, I would never harm you. I chuckled, Lennox, you really don't know my sister well enough. He looked at me in confusion. The next second, He coughed up blood and collapsed in agony. My sister emerged from the shadows with a smile, while Maddox was locked in the carriage cage. Lumi, you truly are my sister. No one understands me like you do. With that, she strode toward the snow fox and kicked him savagely. Several times, you worthless traitor, what good are you to me now? The snow fox begged desperately until she finally relented, then pointed at me, kill her, and I'll spare your life. I couldn't help asking Talia, sister, why do you hate me so much? Talia snorted, glancing at the unconscious Maddox in the cage before turning her gaze to the snow fox, brimming with resentment. She spat, you worthless trash. How dare you be more popular than me? These two orcs are still utterly devoted to you. How infuriating, especially that snow wolf, he'd rather die than betray you. How can I tame him unless you're gone? As I looked at the snow wolf, warmth blossomed in my heart for the first time. This time, I finally made the right choice. Talia issued Snow Fox another ultimatum, kill me immediately or be sent to the gladiator arena. So that's how it was, a fate worse than death itself. Snow Fox looked at me with pity in his eyes, yet still unsheathed his claws toward me. I sneered. So this is what you call keeping me safe. His eyes reddened as he choked out, Lumi, I'm sorry, I promise it'll be quick, it won't hurt much, but they'd all underestimated me. I was no longer the fragile Lumi who couldn't even protect herself. My palm struck his chest, shattering his heart's meridians. 6. Watching the snow fox convulse on the ground, my sister let out a terrified scream and turned to flee, but it was too late. With unnatural speed, I appeared behind her and seized her by the throat. The needles on my finger guards pierced her neck veins, injecting venom that instantly paralyzed her. My sister immediately screamed for help, ordering the family servants to kill me. I whispered a warning to her, sister, you've been poisoned by me, only I possess the antidote, but don't worry, I'm not as cruel as you. This poison won't kill you, it'll just make your flesh rot until you become hideous. My sister cherished her beauty above all else. The thought of disfigurement terrified her more than death itself. At first she refused to believe it, but as the venom spread, angry rashes began erupting across her face. The itching became unbearable. She clawed at her delicate skin uncontrollably, leaving bloody streaks across her face. Lumi, aren't you afraid father will kill you? I sneered. You're about to kill me anyway. What's left to fear? Kill me, and you'll stay hideous for the rest of your life. The choice between her beauty and my life was laughably obvious. Hand over the antidote, and I'll spare your life. She's still as domineering as ever. I shook my head. Release Maddox first. The antidote comes only after we've safely left Tianua City. She flew into a rage, hurling curses at me. Unmoved, I tightened my grip around her throat. If you refuse, we'll die together. Too cowardly to face death, she finally yielded and ordered the cage opened. Maddox was merely unconscious, not in mortal danger. I had him carried to the carriage before forcing Talia to escort me out of the city. Only after reaching the outskirts did I begin to relax. Kicked Talia out of the car and tossed her the antidote recipe. Take it daily, you'll be fine in a month. She snarled at me, you worthless piece of trash, I'll kill you sooner or later. I couldn't be bothered with her and sped off into the wilderness. Now the sky's the limit. No more being chained to my family. Maddox and I raced non-stop toward the glacial tundra. The celestial fire descends in less than 6 months. I've still got a mountain of things to do. The glacial tundra currently lies unclaimed, yet numerous orc factions vie for dominance here, locked in constant skirmishes. Maddox and I have one primary mission, to put an end to this chaos. Fortunately, we've recruited quite a few orc allies along the way. In orc society, might makes right. Defeat them in combat, and I'll pledge allegiance to you. Maddox and I joined forces, leading these orcs straight to the territory of the strongest white tiger orc tribe in the glacial tundra. After 10 days of fierce battle, we finally emerged victorious. With the white tiger tribe's surrender, we became the most formidable force across the frozen plains. We then issued a decree, those who surrendered willingly would be spared, while those who resisted would be exiled. The weaker factions quickly surrendered, while those who resisted were beaten into submission. After unifying the glacial tundra, Maddox still wanted to lead the orcs into human territory to rescue their captured kin. I told him it wasn't necessary. He was utterly perplexed. That fateful night, celestial fire rained down without warning. the temperature soared relentlessly, melting even the fringes of glacial tundras. Countless humans and orcs perished in the inferno. Those who escaped the initial devastation later succumbed to starvation and dehydration under the unrelenting heat. Hordes of orcs and humans fled toward the glacial plains in desperate survival. I expected to see the snow fox again, but he never appeared, yet my sister and father came. Anyway, Maddox and I had sealed off all access points to the glacial tundra early on. No one enters without permission, be they orc or man. It's not that we're heartless, turning a blind eye to those in need. 7. The glacial tundra simply can't sustain that many people. Letting everyone in would doom us all, not to mention those refugees include dangerous criminals. A mass influx would throw the ice fields into chaos. I won't let my territory descend into anarchy, the guards reported my father and sister's arrival, asking whether to grant them entry. When I arrived at the entrance, my father was throwing a fit, berating the guards for their insolence in denying him entry. When my daughter arrives, I'll have every last one of you executed, you blind fools. Do you really think an elder like me would lie to you? My sister, looking utterly disheveled, trailed behind our father while muttering complaints. Dad, why isn't Lumi here yet? Is she doing this on purpose? I'm literally melting. She's definitely still holding a grudge for you kicking her out. This is her revenge. My father wiped her sweat while reassuring her. Don't worry, Lumi might be a bit slow, but she's always been a dutiful girl. My sister protested indignantly. How is she well behaved? She nearly ruined my face back then, and Dad still took her side. Dad plays favorites. All right, I promise when we see her, I'll give her a proper scolding to make it up to you. My father remained as doting on my sister as ever. I couldn't help but laugh hearing this. Then he ordered the guards, follow standard procedure. Those two troublemakers aren't to be let in. That day I stayed out of sight, watching the commotion from the shadows. Maddox came over and told me, if you want to save your father, I won't stand in your way. He knew I'd been lonely since childhood, and that family was what I longed for most. Even though he despised my father, he still respected my choice. I shook my head faintly. He doesn't need my saving, nor will I save him. Live or die, that's their own fate to decide. In my past life, the snow fox obtained 2 slots to enter the frozen plains. To ensure my sister's survival, father poisoned me, claiming I was terminally ill and wouldn't last in the snowfields. Though the snow fox would have chosen her anyway, father's betrayal shattered my heart. Am I not his daughter too? Don't I deserve to live? Any debt I owed for his upbringing was repaid in my past life. Not only will I refuse to save him, I'll watch as he and my sister writhe in agony. Even if they bribe the guards daily to beg for my mercy, I'll turn a deaf ear and never show my face. At first, father and sister basked in the refugees' admiration by flaunting their connection to me. Not only did they secure the prime spot, but people even brought them food and drinks unprompted, hoping to ride their coattails into the snowfields. But as time passed, even their staunchest supporters began having doubts. You claim Lumi, ruler of the snowfields, is your kin. Prove it, my dad said with absolute conviction. How could it be fake? She's my own flesh and blood. Then why hasn't your daughter come to pick you up after 5 whole days? Dad was furious too, but still managed an excuse. She must not know about it yet. Had they known, they'd have come crawling to pay their respects to this old man long ago. Such words could intimidate people at first, but gradually lost their effect. Fewer and fewer people believed them. The closer to the snowfield, the lower the temperature. My father and sister held the prime spots, making many green with envy. Initially intimidated by their words, I believed they were family and didn't dare challenge them. Seeing my prolonged absence and the guards ignoring their claims, they dropped all pretense of civility. Dad and my sister got pushed to increasingly remote areas, struggling with food shortages and daily turf wars. You win some, you lose some. Losing means falling further behind. The further back you go, the hotter it gets, and the harder it becomes to endure. My sister, spoiled since childhood and unaccustomed to hardship, complained bitterly every single day. He picks fights at the drop of a hat, but her skills are rather mediocre. When she's outmatched, my father steps in. As the head of the household, my father is quite capable, but even he can't handle constant battles. To make matters worse, lacking proper clothing and food while being scorched by the intense heat, his injuries grew increasingly severe. Seeing our father was beyond help, My sister actually considered selling him to save herself. She'd heard rumors of a black flood dragon that craved human flesh. 1 pound of meat could be traded for equal measures of food and water. My sister was tempted, too cowardly to harm others. The sister turned her blade against their own father. Father, don't blame me. With all these wounds, you'll die soon anyway. Let your death give me life. You've always loved me most. You wouldn't refuse me. This, would you, to prolong her survival? The sister didn't kill their father outright, first severing both his legs to barter for food and water. Father was tortured beyond endurance, cursed her for being unfilial, heartless, and worse than a beast. 8. Yet my sister kept eating the exchanged food, utterly indifferent. Dad, I'm starving to death. How could you bear to see me suffer when you love me so much? If you must hate someone, hate Lumi. She left us to suffer here when she could have saved us. Don't worry, once I reach the glacial tundra, I'll find a way to overthrow her and kill her to avenge you. My father shed tears of bitter regret. In the end, he couldn't take it anymore. When my sister wasn't looking, he slit his own throat. My sister felt no grief at his death, only resentment that he died too soon. The scorching heat would spoil it within days, so we had to barter it for food immediately. But the traded food spoiled just as quickly. She still dragged our father's corpse to exchange for food and water. Little did she know, she'd become prey herself once separated from the group. The food was snatched away the moment she brought it back. Outmatched in strength, she was taken captive as living provisions. Cursing and thrashing, she screamed, "Let me go! My sister rules the glacial tundra. Lay one finger on me and she'll have your heads." But no one believed her. The elder sister possessed striking beauty that had long drawn covetous gazes, yet while their father stood guard, those would-be suitors dared not act. Now she's like a lamb to the slaughter, completely at their mercy. Fortunately, my sister was adaptable. To survive, she willingly became their plaything. Just give me food and water, and I'll do anything. Seeing her like this, I don't even have the heart to watch her suffer anymore. I doubt she can hold on much longer. To my surprise, my sister proved resourceful, not only surviving but also connecting with Maddox's long-lost brother, who took her into the glacial wilderness. Maddox's brother Sage bears a strong resemblance to him, though he doesn't seem particularly sharp. He confronted me aggressively, demanding justice for my sister. He said to Maddox right in front of me, "Brother, you can't keep this woman by your side. She's cold-hearted, scheming, and even caused her own father's death. Our wolf clan values loyalty above all. A woman like this isn't worthy to be your mate." Maddox had been overjoyed at finding his brother, but now his brows furrowed deeply at these words. "How did you end up with Talia?" Sage gave her sister a doting smile and pulled her into an embrace. "Bro, Talia and I went through hell together. She saved my life. I've decided to make her my life partner." My sister shot me a triumphant glance before resuming her delicate act, nestling into Sage's arms as she murmured timidly, "Sage, I told you they don't like me. Just getting me inside was kindness enough. I'd never dare hope to marry you." But Sage remained stubborn. "Don't talk nonsense. You're the one I've chosen." Then he glared at me with open hostility. "You're not the one who should leave. She is. Bro, if you still consider me your brother, get rid of this wicked woman." Maddox slapped him across the face so hard that Sage staggered back. "You're hitting me, bro." Sage stared at Maddox in shock. Smack. Without a word, Maddox slapped him again. Sage was even more bewildered. When Maddox raised his hand for a third strike, Sage finally blocked it. "Bro, have you lost it? Why are you hitting me?" Ignoring the protest, Maddox coldly ordered, "Apologize to Lumi, or get the hell out of Glacier Tundra." I raised an eyebrow slightly, somewhat surprised, because I knew exactly how much Maddox missed his younger brother. Before meeting Sage, he was practically trembling with nervous anticipation, insisting I accompany him. Yet now he's throwing punches at his long-lost brother. For my sake. Sage was fuming with indignation, his eyes burning red with rage. He knew all too well how much Maddox valued brotherhood. "You hit me over some woman, bro. You've changed." Maddox's face darkened. I said, "Apologize. Don't make me repeat myself a third time." Sage gritted his teeth, snorted, and turned away sharply. "In your dreams." Maddox nodded slowly and actually ordered his men to throw Sage out. The elder sister immediately relented, dropping to her knees with a thud. "My lord, please don't drive Sage away. This is all my fault. Send me away instead." Don't let me come between brothers, Sage, listen to your brother, just leave me alone. She pretended to walk away. Sage yanked her back and roared at Maddox, see how kind Talia is. Unlike that heartless woman by your side, utterly ruthless and inhuman, she's turned us brothers against each other, and you're still defending her. I'd rather die than let her keep manipulating you, brother. I'll kill her first. With those words, he suddenly transformed into a beast and lunged at me. Maddox roared furiously and intercepted him. The two were locked in a fierce battle. My sister walked up to me with a smile. Lumi, I told you, you're no match for me. All your scheming just paves the way for me. Sage is Maddox's only family. If Sage dies because of you, Maddox will never forgive you for the rest of his life. As long as Sage lives, he'll never let you stay in these frozen wastelands. I burst out laughing. I couldn't stop laughing. She shouted angrily. What are you laughing at? Stop that. 9. I looked at her with pity. You don't actually think I need Maddox to survive in these frozen wastes, do you? She frowned. Isn't that the case? The white tiger beast man guard beside me spoke. Lumi is the true ruler of the glacial tundra. Even Maddox and the rest of us must obey her commands. My sister was utterly shocked, yet remained unconvinced. Impossible. You may hold the title of Lord, but without Maddox's support, you'd never maintain your position. I gazed at her nonchalantly and extended my palm, where a 9-petaled golden lotus materialized. She gasped in disbelief. You've mastered the Lotus Divine Art. The Lotus Divine Art is our ancestral secret technique, the very foundation of our family's legacy. My father only reached the 7th level, yet he became invincible across Tianhua City. In my past life, I attained the 6th level, only to be poisoned by my own father. Even if the snow fox refused to save me, I wouldn't have met such a gruesome end. Yet through life and death, I've grasped the true essence of the Lotus Divine Art. Only by bonding with a beastkin as true companions, receiving their sincere devotion, can the Lotus Divine Art reach perfection. After I saved Maddox, he became utterly devoted to me, assisting my training with wholehearted dedication. My current power makes me invincible not just among humans, but even in the mighty orc realm. If Maddox betrays me, I can end him anytime. After the bitter lessons from my past life, I'll never entrust my life to anyone again. As a member of our family, Sister naturally understands the might of the Lotus Divine technique, but she still wanted to take the gamble. I don't believe it. She suddenly lunged at me, but with just a light push, she was sent flying backward, coughing up blood. She cried out for Sage. Sage. Sage immediately broke off from Maddox and rushed to her sister's side. His sister lay in his arms like a dying woman, whispering weakly, "Don't blame my sister. She just didn't want to be cast out. My death would be for the best." With that, he feigned unconsciousness. Sage went berserk and lunged at me, pathetically outmatched. I knocked him flat in seconds. Maddox just stood by watching. Sage refused to accept defeat and scrambled up to fight me again. 3 moves later, he was flat on the ground once more. After 3 humiliating rounds, he finally realized he stood no chance against me. Bro. Sage could only whimper pitifully to Maddox for help. Maddox shrugged. You can't even beat me. How do you expect to take on Lumi? I've told you before, the Frost Glacier is Lumi's domain. Sage asked plaintively. How's that possible? This is clearly orc territory. Maddox rolled his eyes. More orcs doesn't mean it's orc territory. Here, orcs and humans are equals. If this were truly the orcs' domain, we wouldn't have let so many humans in. Sage asked. Isn't that just because you spoil her, brother? Maddox took my hand, knelt on one knee before me, and pressed a kiss to it. For Wolfkin, this is a gesture of submission. She saved my life. If anyone's spoiling someone here, it's her spoiling me. Sage had no choice but to believe, yet he still couldn't accept it. She murdered her own sister and abandoned her father. Do you really think she deserves our loyalty, brother? Maddox sneered. Have you grown soft after living among humans for too long? In the orc world, might makes right. Her strength alone qualifies her. Besides, how can you be sure that woman in your arms is telling the truth? If Lumi were truly that cruel, would those refugees outside still be alive? It's only because of Lumi's kindness that they receive food and water. Sage's face twisted with conflict as he looked down at his unconscious sister and asked, but why would she leave Talia suffering out there? Maddox gestured for someone to summon the Black Serpent. The moment the Black Serpent arrived, her sister dropped the act. Lumi, you did this on purpose. You set me up." At last she realized the black serpents. Cannibalism was nothing but a scheme against her. I knew father favored her, and I knew how selfish and cruel she was. Had she possessed even a shred of conscience, neither she nor father would have died. My gamble paid off. With her sole protector dead, her fate was sealed. I'll never admit, sister, what nonsense are you spouting? Yet I insisted. Father, I want the snow wolf. Me, she screamed and lunged at me, determined to take us both down. Maddox sent her flying with a single slap. Throw her outside. No one is to give her food or water. Sage still hesitated, but Maddox cut him off with a warning. If you can't bear to part with her, you can leave with her. Sage finally shut his mouth, muttering, how could someone so beautiful be that cruel? Maddox smacked him on the head. Can't tell right from wrong. You're hopeless. Apologize to Lumi right now, or I'll still kick you out. Sage looked all pitiful, but eventually knelt down obediently to make amends. I wasn't really planning to hold it against him anyway. Maddox means the world to me, and I'm willing to accept his family, as long as Sage behaves himself. Fortunately, Sage isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but at least he learns from his mistakes. Only after learning the truth did he realize with regret that he'd been deceived. He came to apologize to me with genuine sincerity. He even volunteered to guard the entry points to atone for his mistakes. After my sister was banished from the glacial tundra, people shunned her like the plague. She ultimately perished from the scorching heat just beyond the ice fields. The celestial fires that had raged for decades finally began to wane. The surface temperatures gradually returned to normal. The apocalypse ended. Life flourished anew as humans and orcs emerged from the glacial tundra to rebuild their homes. A century of shared hardships had forged unbreakable bonds. Humans and orcs cast aside their enmity, joining hands to create a new era of peaceful coexistence. Statues of Maddox and I stand in every city square, eternal reminders for generations to come. End dash. Story 2. 10 days before the arrival of the zombie apocalypse, I was reborn. I immediately took my mother and started hoarding goods like crazy. When the zombie virus broke out, we would hide in the old house and not go out. In my previous life, my husband, along with my in-laws and his mistress, burst into the house and beat me and my mother to death. In this life, they still want to seek refuge with us. They're really daydreaming. I picked up the Juga repeating crossbow and aimed it at their heads. 1. There are still 10 days until the zombie virus breaks out. My father had just been buried, and I was staying with my mother in the old house, earnestly persuading her to go back to Jincheng with me to spend her old age. Otherwise, I really couldn't rest assured leaving her alone in our hometown. My mother didn't want to. She was being hesitant, saying that she wanted to stay here with my father, and that the chickens and ducks my father had raised before his death needed someone to feed them. Also, the fruit trees outside the door had already ripened, and she needed to contact someone to come and pick the fruits. I couldn't persuade her, so I could only stay here with her. During this time, my husband called me countless times urging me to go home, but I ignored him. After all, no matter how close my husband was, he couldn't be closer than my own mother. Unexpectedly, just 10 days later, news came that the zombie virus had broken out. My husband called me and said that there were zombies all downstairs in his place, and there were occasional explosion sounds. The air was filled with a pungent smell, and the food and drinks at home were almost gone. He asked me how things were on my side. I told him the truth. Things are okay on my side. I haven't seen any zombies outside, and there's plenty of food and drink at home. We can last for a few months without a problem. All right then, I don't have to worry about you anymore. My husband even heaved a sigh of relief, saying that he didn't have to worry about me now and that I didn't have to worry about him either, as he had his own way to deal with it. How could I not worry? I called him every now and then, but it seemed that the internet was down, and I couldn't get through no matter how many times I called. Just as I was getting really worried, on the 5th day after the zombie virus broke out, he suddenly appeared outside my house with my in-laws. I rushed to open the door, but it wasn't just him and my in-laws who came in. There was also the female neighbor upstairs and her 6-year-old son hiding behind them, too. I was very surprised. After all, we had some unpleasant experiences before. However, facing the apocalypse, I still let them in and was about to close the door. Unexpectedly, my mother-in-law suddenly stopped the door with her hand, grinned, and said to me, "Faith, don't blame me for being heartless. In this situation, there shouldn't be any useless things in the house. What? I didn't understand. My mother-in-law continued to tell me, you, a hen that can't lay eggs, should be thrown out to feed the zombies. If it wasn't for the fact that you're the only daughter in your family and you bought a house in the city, I wouldn't have let my son marry you. Why are you wasting your breath on her? My husband pushed me out with a dark face. I struggled and shouted, what are you doing? This is my house. What do you mean your house? Once you're married in, everything belongs to our family. You've been occupying our things for so many years and should have returned them long ago. Daisy, don't just stand there and watch. Come and give me a hand. Let's throw her out to feed the zombies together. From now on, you'll be my daughter-in-law. My mother-in-law pulled me while shouting at the female neighbor upstairs. I then realized that they had already been having an affair. I was so angry that I roared, Mark, have you lost your mind? You're going to push me out to feed the zombies for a woman with a 6-year-old child. Ha ha ha. The female neighbor upstairs suddenly burst into laughter, and my mother-in-law also grinned like a ghost. Do you think everyone is like you, a hen that can't lay eggs? Leo is my real grandson. What are you doing? My mother came at this moment and rushed over to save me from their hands. Unexpectedly, my father-in-law, who was standing aside, suddenly raised his hand, and the shovel hit the back of my mother's head heavily. Mom, I pounced on my mother to protect her, and the shovel hit my head heavily. Once, twice, 3 times, countless times, I fell to the ground. My husband hugged the female neighbor, and there was a ferocious smile of success on his face, like a ghost from hell dragging me into the endless darkness. 3. Mom, just come back to Jincheng with me. It was at this moment that I was suddenly reborn. Frames of the scenes before my rebirth flashed through my mind. Even the back of my head ached terribly, but when I touched it, there was no blood, and the sky outside the window was still a clear blue. Oh, I think it's quite nice to live here. Besides, the apples outside have already ripened. If I leave with you at this time, it's like throwing away money, and the chickens and ducks in the yard were all your father's hard work. I can't just leave them behind. My mother was still as hesitant as in my memory and refused to leave with me. In my previous life, I tried so hard to persuade her and even got angry, thinking that she didn't understand me as a daughter at all. Now I pounced on her and cried, Mom, we won't leave. We'll stay here with Dad. What? You definitely have to go back. My mother didn't agree. She could stay, but I couldn't. After all, I still had a home outside. She didn't know that the only home I had was the one with her in it. Looking at the date, there are still 10 days until the zombie virus breaks out. Whether my mother believed me or not, I told her about my rebirth and also told her that there would be some people biting others in the next few days, and the zombie virus would suddenly break out after those incidents. It seemed that overnight, the whole world would fall. Then we need to hoard goods. My mother's first reaction was actually this. I was taken aback for a moment. Mom, you believe me. Who else can I believe if I don't believe you? My mother smiled and touched my head. Your father is gone, and I only have you. Didn't the old saying go that a woman should obey her father at home, her husband after marriage, and her daughter in old age? I really couldn't hold back my laughter. My mother was so witty, talking about obeying her daughter in old age. Anyway, this time, I definitely wouldn't make the same mistake again. By the way, I also had a very important thing to do, which was to find a real estate agent and directly sell my house in Jincheng at a 50% discount, of course. I also told the agent the situation directly. The house was bought before my marriage. Now it's occupied by my husband and my in-laws. Please transfer the money directly to my card. I will entrust a lawyer to handle the transfer of ownership. You can deal with taking over the house by yourselves at that time. According to the current market situation, that house was worth at least over 3 million yuan. At a 50% discount, it only cost less than 2 million yuan. The agent transferred the down payment to my account that afternoon. I also contacted a lawyer and directly sent the power of attorney and the property ownership certificate over. Indeed, in the internet age, I didn't need to show up at all. Once the power of attorney and the property ownership certificate arrived, the transfer procedures could be completed. That night, my mother and I hardly slept. We carefully wrote down everything we needed to buy and do. Originally, I wanted to buy food and drinks online, but then I thought that there were only 4 or 5 courier stations in the town at the foot of the mountain. If a large number of packages were delivered there, it would definitely attract the attention of the store owners. When the apocalypse came, I was afraid that we would be targeted. It would be great if the courier station was ours. As soon as I told my mother about this concern, she laughed. This is easy, we can just buy one. A few days ago, I went down the mountain to pick up a package and happened to see that the store owner wanted to transfer the business. His son was admitted to a university in another place, and the couple wanted to follow him. I overheard that the whole transfer only cost 48,000 yuan. 5. Early the next morning, my mother went down the mountain and headed straight for the courier station. More than 2 hours later, my mother sent me a message. It's done. This courier station will be ours from now on. You can buy whatever you want. And don't worry about the store owner being nosy. This time, I could finally place orders boldly. First, I bought all kinds of antibiotics, disinfectant drugs, Banlangen granules, etc., all in quantities enough for 5 years. Then I added rice, flour, cooking oil, and other things to the shopping cart. I also stocked up on white sugar, brown sugar, rock sugar, all in quantities of hundreds of caddies. After that, I stocked up on miscellaneous grains like mung beans, red beans, soybeans, etc., all in quantities of 50 caddies, dried foods like yuba, black fungus, dried mushrooms, etc., were also essential, and I bought as many cured products like dried sausages, cured meat, salted fish, pickled vegetables, etc., as possible. Shall we buy some? My mother was shopping in the vegetable market and asked me if I wanted to buy some meat and vegetables to take home. I replied to her, you can buy enough for these few days, but don't buy too much to avoid attracting attention. As for other things, I will buy them online and we can transport them home after they are delivered to the courier station. The most urgent thing was to buy a small truck first. I bought a second-hand one, and the agent said that it would be delivered to me the next day. At that time, I would park it at the door of the courier station, let the delivery workers put my packages directly on the truck, and then I would transport them home at night, trying my best not to attract anyone's attention. At 9:30 in the morning, my mother came back on a small tricycle loaded with bags and boxes. I quickly went to help. Just as we finished unloading the goods, the workers who came to reinforce the fence, install the high-voltage line, and change the iron gate arrived. The iron gate also needed to be replaced. It not only had to be able to pass high-voltage electricity but also be explosion-proof. After all, in the apocalypse, the most terrifying things were often not the zombies but the beasts like my husband and his family. We had to guard against them. Our old house had 3 floors above ground and 1 floor underground, covering an area of more than 300 square meters. Together with the yard, it was nearly 800 square meters. There were solar panels on the roof, and there was a room on the 3rd floor that served as a battery storage room. Since we were on a mountain and had installed photovoltaic panels, the battery capacity was quite large, so even if there was a power outage, it wouldn't affect our normal electricity use. Moreover, there was a well in the yard. The water was pumped from the well to the water storage tank on the roof and then supplied to the whole house, so we didn't have to worry about water and electricity. There was also a vegetable plot and a fish pond. There were chickens and ducks raised in the yard. In my previous life, we could live well even without hoarding goods. If it wasn't for my husband and those beasts, we could have survived for another 10 or 20 years. In short, this time, my mother and I would definitely be able to survive until the end of the apocalypse. As for those beasts, if they dared to show up again, I would definitely make sure they never left. Faith, the workers who came to pick the apples are here. Go and take a look. My mother was calling me. I responded and ran outside. We definitely wouldn't sell the apples. We would keep them all, process them, and then put them in the cold storage. In this way, in the next 2 years, my mother and I could have fresh apples even if we didn't go out. 6. Our cold storage was on the underground floor, covering an area of more than 50 square meters. In the past, the fruits that couldn't be sold out would be stored there first, and they could generally be kept for a year or 2 without any problem. After I arranged for the workers to process and pack the apples, they were directly carried into the cold storage. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the workers who came to decorate the freezer arrived. The people my mother found were quite reliable. After looking around the basement, they finally chose a room of 50 square meters and promised us that they could finish the work in at most 3 days. I calculated that there were still 9 days until the zombie outbreak. It would be too late to order fresh meat online after the freezer was completed. Early the next morning, I went to the courier station to keep watch, and my mother stayed at home to supervise the workers renovating the house. The credit limit of 120,000 yuan on a certain platform had been used up by me, mostly for buying dried goods, especially for things like black fungus, tremella mushrooms, and shiitake mushrooms, which were light and could be stored for a long time. I stocked up on them like crazy. I also stocked up a lot of black tea and green tea. My mother pays attention to keeping in good health. I also ordered several large boxes of Chinese wolfberries, red dates, and astragalus membranaceus. I must keep my mother in good shape. Next, we needed to move towards sustainable development. After all, no one knew how long the zombie virus outbreak would last and when the national rescue would arrive, so things like rice seeds, vegetable seeds, and fertilizers were essential. Fortunately, my mother had experience in this area and wrote me a list, and I just needed to buy according to it. There were currently more than a dozen red carps in our fish pond. My mother asked the workers to use an excavator to expand it a little today. I directly placed an order online to buy fish fry. Tilapia was the easiest fish to raise that I knew. It often multiplied in large numbers, so I didn't consider other fish and just bought tilapia. I directly ordered 100 of them. I would throw them all into the fish pond. Once they were raised, we wouldn't have to worry about not having fish to eat. 7. I also wanted to get some weapons, but it was absolutely impossible to buy finished products online, so I spent half a day looking for alternatives and finally found one. The Zhuge repeating crossbow. After improvement, its firing range could reach about 100 meters. Coupled with a laser sight and specially made all-steel crossbow arrows, it would definitely be useful in the apocalypse. I couldn't wait to imagine the scene where my husband and those beasts came to find me, and I would stand on the top floor and aim the Zhuge repeating crossbow at their heads. At 6:00 in the afternoon, my truck arrived. I test drove it and it was okay. I directly parked it at the door of the courier station. When my packages arrived, I directly threw them on the truck and would transport them home at night. It would definitely be done without anyone knowing. At a little past 9:00 in the evening, the workers had gone home to rest. My mother and I checked the list of things we needed to do that we had listed before: reinforcing the fence, installing the power grid, changing the explosion-proof iron gate. These had all been done. The expansion of the fish pond had also been done. The freezer was still being built. According to the workers, it wouldn't even take 3 days. They could install the equipment tomorrow and test it. If there were no problems, it could be put into use directly. The progress is quite fast. I took a sip of water. Just then, my phone rang. It was a call from my husband, Mark, asking me when I would go back. I smiled. Soon, I'll stay with my mother for a few more days. Wife, your husband misses you. This scumbag, Mark, I never thought he was so greasy before. I rolled my eyes and didn't say anything. Every time this guy said something like this, he must have something to ask of me. Either he wanted money or there was some trouble with his family that he needed my help with. Sure enough, this guy said, "Wife, Mom isn't feeling well. I'm going to take her to the hospital for a comprehensive checkup." 8. In the past, I would definitely have cared about what was wrong with my mother-in-law and then stupidly transferred several thousand or even tens of thousands of yuan over, telling him to take good care of my mother-in-law. Now I was indifferent. "Oh, wife, there's no money in my card. Please transfer 8,000 yuan to me first." Mark saw that I didn't mention the money, so he had to bring it up on his own initiative. But even then, I still wouldn't give it to him. I forgot to tell you, my mom wasn't happy these few days. To make her happy, I took her out for a trip and bought her tens of thousands of yuan worth of jewelry at the gold store. Now there's no money in my card, and I was just about to ask you to transfer some to me. How could you do that? Just spend tens of thousands of yuan on your mom like that, and you even took her out to have fun. Heh, Faith, you're really something. That guy immediately got angry and shouted so loudly that my ears were ringing. I directly held the phone away from me and my face turned cold. What's wrong? What's wrong with me spending my own money to make my mom happy? If you want to spend money to make your mom happy, I won't say a word. Even if you want to spend money, you can't spend so much. Just because your mom was unhappy, you spent tens of thousands of yuan. Now my mom is not feeling well and there's no money to take her to the hospital for a checkup. What does that have to do with me? I was so speechless that I laughed. Don't you even understand the basic marriage law? Everyone takes care of their own mother. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being incompetent and not having the money to take your mom for a checkup. Instead of having the nerve to yell at me, I directly hung up the phone. What a unlucky thing. I was blind in my previous life to have picked such a scumbag. 9. Don't be angry. See what mom has prepared for you. My mom took out an ice cream from behind her mysteriously. My nose instantly turned sour. It used to be my dad who coaxed me like this. She never let me eat ice cream before, saying that it wasn't good for girls to eat too much cold food. After my dad passed away, I thought no one would ever coax me like this again. Why are you crying? When my mom saw me shedding tears, she quickly leaned over. Is the flavor of this ice cream not right? No, I snatched the ice cream. It's the vanilla flavor that I like. It's just that I thought no one would ever use an ice cream to coax me when I'm sad again. Silly girl. My mom rubbed my head, and her eyes also turned red. From now on, it will be just the two of us, mother and daughter. Depending on each other, we should both try to be nicer to each other. Okay, I'll share half of this ice cream with you. I used to be reluctant to share half of it with my dad. My mom laughed with a sound and turned around to get a bowl to divide my ice cream. She really did divide it in half. There are still 7 days until the zombie virus breaks out. The packages I ordered have been arriving one after another. When unloading, I stood by and watched. When I saw that it was my package, I asked them to move it onto the truck. After we were done, I gave each of them a red envelope as a token of gratitude. After being tested by the workers, our cold storage was confirmed to be in good condition and could operate normally. I directly bought shelves online and then ordered fresh meat. I bought beef, mutton, venison, and even yak meat, all in quantities of hundreds of caddies. All these were delivered to my home by SF Express for free. However, I still filled in the address of the courier station. My mom was still at home. The apples hadn't been picked yet. Mainly, the processing and packing were quite troublesome, usually taking 3 to 5 days. My phone showed that Mark had called me more than 99 times and sent more than 30 messages. First, he said that I was being unreasonable. Since I was his wife, I shouldn't be so clear about dividing things with him. He also said that his mom was my mom and that we should treat them equally. 10. I ignored him. He then sent messages saying that we were all family, and forget it, he wouldn't argue with me. I still ignored him. He said, okay, is it okay if I admit that your husband was wrong? You don't have to give me the money for now. I borrowed 8,000 yuan from my friends. You can pay me back when you have the money. I had the expression of the Metro Man looking at his phone meme. Why didn't I realize before that this guy had such a thick skin? Do I look like someone so cheap that he borrows money and I pay it back? I still couldn't be bothered to pay attention to him. The lawyer called and told me that the property ownership certificate and the power of attorney had arrived, and I could sign the contract with the real estate agent to handle the transfer of ownership at any time. Since I had already told the agent that they could take over the house 6 days later, the lawyer asked me whether I wanted to wait a few days for the transfer or do it now. I said it didn't matter, as long as the date of taking over the house remained the same. The lawyer replied with an okay. The agent transferred the remaining payment to my account that afternoon, and the lawyer also informed me that the transfer procedures had been completed. Mark was still babbling, telling me to be satisfied with what I had and that his patience was limited. He said that since I had spent so much money on my mom, what was wrong with him losing his temper? In other families, not only would they lose their temper, but they would also tie their wives up and beat them half to death and even get a divorce. I replied, fine, let's get a divorce then. Mark, wife, I was just joking with you. I know you're in a bad mood because your father passed away. Look, come home, and your husband will take good care of you. I promise you'll be in a good mood again. I really felt like vomiting and blocked him again. 11. That night, I drove a full truckload of goods home. My mom and I unloaded the goods together. Things like rice, flour, cooking oil, and grains were really heavy. Fortunately, the warehouse was on the first floor, and there was an electric cart. I moved the goods from the truck, and my mom received them. The speed was relatively fast, mainly because there were so many goods. For example, For the rice, I bought it in bags of 10 kilograms each, with 5 bags in a box, and I bought 10 boxes. Just moving these 10 boxes made me out of breath. Fortunately, my mom was more capable than me. She not only received the goods but also pushed them to the warehouse to put them away. Without even catching her breath, she even mocked me, saying that a person in her 20s was not as capable as an old woman like her. I had nothing to say in response. Fortunately, the goods for tomorrow would be a bit better. They were all dried goods, like cured meat, dried sausages, and mushrooms, black fungus, etc. I didn't buy too much of the heavy things like mung beans, just about 100 caddies. Compared to the rice and flour which weighed thousands of caddies, it was much easier. Early the next morning, my mom was still at home, directing the workers to pick the apples, and I went to the courier station to receive the goods. The 5 all-steel improved sugar repeating crossbows that I ordered arrived. The store also gave me 100 wooden arrows. Although they were made of wood, I tried them out and found that they could directly penetrate a mineral water bottle. If they were replaced with steel arrowheads, they could definitely shoot through someone's head. According to the dimensions given by the store, I contacted another seller and ordered 5,000 fine steel sharp arrows, and I told them it was for fishing. With the zombie apocalypse approaching, these 5,000 arrows were definitely not enough, so I changed to several other stores, all with the same dimensions, the same fine steel sharp arrows, and the same quantity of 5,000. I made it clear that they must deliver the goods within 3 days, otherwise I would cancel the order directly. When I got home at night, I used my mom's phone to order 10 more Juga repeating crossbows, and then I customized 30,000 fine steel sharp arrows from another store. Anyway, these things wouldn't break, and it was always better to have more. In short, if that scumbag dares to come, I'll shoot his head off. 12. That night, I specifically stood on the rooftop to test the power of the Juga repeating crossbow. The laser sight was especially useful at night. With very high accuracy, it could penetrate a mineral water bottle placed more than 10 meters away outside the yard. If it were replaced with fine steel sharp arrows, the lethality should be even greater. In short, I was very satisfied with the effect. I gave the store a 5-star review. There are still 5 days until the zombie virus breaks out. The fresh meat that I ordered finally arrived. SF Express directly delivered a large truckload of it. I really wanted them to directly deliver the goods to my home and then move them into the cold storage. However, considering that people's hearts were unpredictable, I endured it. It would be tiring, but the most important thing was safety. In short, my mom and I were almost exhausted that night. After all, the cold storage was in the basement. Although there was an elevator, carrying thousands of caddies of fresh meat back and forth still made our hands and feet tremble. My mom even had a backache. I directly picked up my phone and placed an order for 2 massage chairs. That cost more than 80,000 yuan each anyway. With the apocalypse coming, money that wasn't spent was just a number. In short, I would spend it until I was satisfied. Thinking of being satisfied, I almost jumped up. In my previous life, although my mom and I were safe at home, there was no internet, and we couldn't even watch TV. My mom was so bored that she even took out the little king of video games and wanted to play games with me. This time, I must arrange the entertainment items properly. I bought 2 computers that cost more than 70,000 yuan each, 1 PS5, and 2 extra game controllers in case the original 2 broke and couldn't be replaced. I also directly ordered 50 18T hard drives. On the day they arrived, I filled them all with single-player games, movies, variety shows, TV dramas, etc. It would be so great to munch on sunflower seeds and binge-watch shows when I had nothing to do. 13. There are still 3 days until the zombie virus breaks out. The last package I ordered also arrived. It was a box of lush mint, and I planned to plant it in the yard. I could pick some and make mint tea when I had time. On the door of the courier store, I pasted a notice saying that it would be closed for 5 days for renovation. My mom got up especially early and went to the market with me. The town was quite lively, especially the vegetable market. We bought more than 10 caddies of fish and shrimp. Just then, we saw a vendor selling watermelons and directly bought 10 watermelons and piled them on the small tricycle. We didn't buy anything else. After all, I had already bought all the food, drinks, including medicine and daily necessities, online. I even bought dozens of boxes of military rations that claimed to have a shelf life of 20 years. Generally speaking, as long as there were no accidents, my mom and I could survive for a lifetime. After coming back from the market, I drove the rented excavator and dug 2 big pits that were 2 meters deep on the road in front of my house. Then I parked the excavator and the truck horizontally in the middle of the road. From then on, we stayed indoors and didn't go out. Our computers were still downloading things like crazy. My mom was busy in the kitchen, saying that she was going to cook a big meal. I was browsing my phone and saw that a certain country was protesting again that there were problems with the blood products of the United States. The patients who used the blood products not only lost consciousness but also showed aggressive behavior. Our country had already stopped importing blood products from the United States. In my previous life, I had also seen such news and just swiped past it without thinking much. This time, I clicked in, and a comment caught my attention: losing consciousness and being aggressive. Wasn't that just like zombies? Was it possible that those blood products carried the zombie virus? Could it be another biochemical weapon developed by the United States? It was true that the zombie virus outbreak was very sudden. If the blood products really contained the zombie virus, then the people who had used them would become carriers of the zombie virus before the carriers got sick. If they had contact with others, such as intimate behaviors like kissing, it was very likely that they would spread the virus. That's why the outbreak was so rapid. I heard that many couples mutated into zombies at once and then pounced on their children and parents, resulting in the whole family being wiped out. 14. Ding-ling-ling. I was woken up by the ringtone of my phone early in the morning. It was a call from an unknown number. When I looked again, Mark's blocked number had called more than 99 times. This number must also be from him. I didn't answer and directly blocked it. There were more than 99 messages on WeChat and SMS. Mark asked me why someone came to take over the house and if I had sold the house. After that, there were all kinds of curses, saying that I was crazy and sold the house secretly without telling him. Finally, he also said, "You just wait for me." This was a blatant threat. I picked up the Juga repeating crossbow and shot 6 arrows at the target, without using the laser sight. My accuracy was getting higher and higher, so even if they came during the day, I was confident that I could shoot their heads off at once. In my previous life, 5 days after the zombie virus broke out, they appeared outside my house. I don't know if he will be on time in this life. Anyway, no matter whether it's early or late, the Juga repeating crossbow in my hand is not something to be trifled with. There were more and more videos of people biting others on the internet, and they all said that it was the rabies virus breaking out. I knew that the dormant zombie virus was starting to run rampant. Sure enough, the next morning, the whole internet was filled with news of zombies attacking humans. My phone showed more than 99 missed calls, all from Mark. He sent a message saying that the zombie virus had broken out and told me not to go out. He also said that since I sold the house, they had nowhere to go and could only hide in the neighbor's house, and they didn't have any food left. In my previous life, because I was worried, I kept calling him, asking all kinds of questions, and he even got annoyed with me. Now I didn't reply at all. He probably felt embarrassed or the internet was cut off, and he didn't send me any more messages. 15. On the 10th day after my rebirth, the zombie virus broke out. The whole internet was filled with bloody pictures of zombies biting people. We were on a mountain, and it was originally a place where few people went, so we hadn't found any zombies yet. However, I suddenly thought that I could attract more zombies on the way up the mountain. "Mom, I'm going out for a while." I took the car keys and grabbed the Juga repeating crossbow and rushed out. My mom said behind me, "Where are you going? It's dangerous outside." "I know, I'll be back soon." The second-hand truck that I bought before was now parked horizontally outside the courtyard. I got in the car, turned around, and drove out. I stopped the car without turning off the engine near the middle of the mountain. I used a heavy object and adhesive tape to make the horn keep blaring. Then I got out of the car with the Juga repeating crossbow and ran out. The truck was blocking the middle of the road, and with sufficient battery power, it could keep making noise for several days, which would attract the zombies. It wouldn't be as easy for that guy Mark to come up the mountain as it was in my previous life. I ran up the mountain out of breath and found that my mom was standing at the gate of the courtyard looking around. When she saw me, her eyes instantly turned red, and she shouted at the top of her lungs, "Hurry up and come in, you child. How could you run out when it's so dangerous?" as soon as I got close. My mom pulled me into the courtyard, and my butt immediately got a few slaps. After she closed the door properly, my butt got a few more slaps, and she was scolding me while hitting me. Let you run out, let you be disobedient. What if something suddenly came out and bit you? I wasn't bitten, Mom, you don't even know what a great thing I've done. After I told her my plan of attracting zombies to guard our gate, my mom poked my forehead hard with her finger. In any case, don't do it again next time. Come on, I've cooked your favorite braised pork and braised prawns in oil. Great. As a mama's girl, I immediately followed her happily. After I finished my meal, the car was still making noise. I couldn't hear it very clearly in the room, but when I stood on the rooftop, I could clearly hear the sound of the horn. I looked through the telescope for a while and saw a few staggering and extremely slow-moving zombies at the end of the road walking towards the car. 16. The plan was successful. I couldn't wait to see the scene of that guy Mark seeing such a large group of zombies blocking the road. The second day after the zombie virus broke out, the truck's horn was still blaring, and there was no sign of it stopping. Through the telescope, I saw that there were densely packed zombies around the car. Some of them were trying to walk up the mountain in 2s and 3s, but they didn't go far before they were called back by the sound of the car's horn. The internet was cut off in most areas online, but it was still working on my side, and the computer was still downloading things like crazy. My mother stopped looking at her phone, saying that all she scrolled through were pictures of zombies biting people. It was so disgusting that it gave her nightmares at night. She thought it would be better not to look at it and that binge-watching dramas was more enjoyable. She likes binge-watching dramas, and I like practicing with the crossbow. I'm getting more and more proficient with the Juga repeating crossbow in my hand. It's a pity that there are no zombies outside the courtyard yet. Otherwise, I could have a real practice and see if I can also hit a moving target with one shot with my skills. In the afternoon of the third day after the zombie virus broke out, I was observing the zombies near the truck on the rooftop with a telescope when I suddenly saw a small car driving in at the end of the road. It was Mark, this time. He came 2 days earlier than in my previous life. Fortunately, I had made preparations in advance, and their car couldn't get through. At the end of the road, the car slowly stopped. I guess they saw the densely packed zombies in front and the truck blocking the middle of the road. The location I chose was particularly good. Since the road itself wasn't wide, it could only accommodate 2 small cars driving side by side. There were big trees on both sides of the road, and my truck was still parked horizontally in the middle of the road. It could be said to be blocked tightly. Unless they got out of the car and walked, they couldn't go up the mountain. 17. Mom, look, it's Mark and the others. How could I let my mom miss such an exciting scene? I directly called her up to the rooftop to eat melon seeds and watch the show together. The car still hadn't driven away. I guess they were still not giving up. My mom said, "It's blocked like this. He wouldn't still want to go up the mountain, would he?" Daughter, how's your practice with that crossbow? Can you take them out instantly? Me, the probability is higher at night. I'm not too sure about during the day. My mom, if you can't take them out instantly, then shoot them full of holes. These beasts treated us like that in the previous life. Shooting them full of holes wouldn't even relieve my anger. Ding-ling-ling, my phone suddenly rang. It was an unknown number. I had a hunch that it was that guy Mark calling. With the mentality of watching a good show, I pressed the speakerphone button. Immediately, a voice came from the other end of the phone. "Wife, you finally answered the phone. Your husband is about to die." "Oh, then hurry up and die." I directly laughed out loud. Mark's heavy breathing on the other end of the phone was so clear. I guess he was struggling hard to suppress his anger. It was really difficult for him. "Wife, don't be joking. Your husband is on the way to your house now. Right here on the halfway up the mountain. The road is blocked. Do you have any way to let your husband pass? As long as your husband is alive, he will love you well and spoil you for a lifetime." "Okay." He lowered his voice. I don't know if he was afraid that the zombies would hear or if he was deliberately making that bubbly voice. It was so greasy that it made my scalp tingle. "Me, tisk tsk, what should I do? I only like a dead husband." "Faith, don't go too far. Now is a matter of life and death. Can you think of a way to let me pass and we can talk about other things later? Mom and Dad are still in my car. They've always been nice to you. Do you have the heart to watch them be bitten to death by zombies?" Mark got angry for a moment, just for a moment. His voice got lower and lower as he spoke. I guess he was afraid of attracting the attention of the zombies. If it were in my previous life, I would definitely let them in the house without saying a word. But now I just want to see the zombies bite them to pieces, so I laughed even louder. I have the heart, why wouldn't I? It's not just your parents in your car, right? There should also be the female neighbor upstairs. Oh, and your dear son, Mark. Your whole family really loves each other. Even if you die, you have to die together. I'm really happy for you. 18. How could you know? Mark's tone was very bad, and my tone was even worse. Of course it's because your female neighbor showed off to me. She said that I'm a hen that can't lay eggs, that the little fatty is the real offspring of your family. Oh, and she told me not to occupy the position without doing anything. I didn't say that to her. The female neighbor's tone was full of panic. I heard the sound of slaps, and the wailing cry of the little fatty. The phone seemed to have fallen, but it wasn't hung up. I could hear my father-in-law shout, "Drive quickly, those zombies are coming." My mom and I picked up the binoculars simultaneously. The zombies were charging towards their car. Although Mark had turned the car around in time, he was still a little late. The zombies had come surging forward and surrounded them completely. My mom and I picked up the telescope at the same time. The zombies were rushing towards their car. Although Mark had turned the car around in time, it was still a little too late. The zombies had swarmed around them and surrounded them tightly. I could hear their terrified screams on the phone, especially the little fatty. His wailing cry was intense. Mark shouted at him to stop crying, but instead of stopping, he let out an even more ear-piercing and shrill cry. I directly laughed out loud. After all, I had experienced this sound before. Last month, I was still at home. In the middle of the night, the little fatty was playing ball upstairs. I went to knock on the door and asked them to be as quiet as possible since everyone needed to rest. As a result, the female neighbor rolled her eyes at me. The little fatty was even more excessive, just like now. He was shouting at the top of his lungs with a shrill cry. I asked the female neighbor to take care of it, but she sneered at me and said that I didn't understand because I hadn't had a child. I should just let him shout, and he would naturally stop when he was tired. I argued with her, and Mark's family took her side. They pulled me home and scolded me for being unreasonable, saying that children were naughty and that adults shouldn't be so petty. They even accused me of going to their door to pick a fight because I was jealous that I couldn't have a child. Now I have to say, the little fatty's cry is really pleasant to hear. All right, my little god, stop crying. This was my mother-in-law's voice. In the previous life, she pointed at my nose and called me a hen that couldn't lay eggs. She also said that the little fatty was the real offspring of their family, and that a useless person like me who couldn't lay eggs should be thrown out to feed the zombies. Now she was begging her precious offspring to stop crying. Her precious offspring became even more complacent and cried even more shrilly. It was so ear-piercing that I could hear it clearly on my phone, through the telescope. Because of the little fatty's howl, more and more zombies were gathering. Some of them were even pressing against the front window glass and making all kinds of close-range attacks. 19. Damn it, shut up for me. Mark's angry roar, and a loud slap. My mother-in-law. Ouch, talk nicely, don't hit him. The little fatty had just quieted down. As soon as my mother-in-law spoke, the little fatty howled again and shouted, "I want to get out of the car. I don't want to stay in here. Damn it, %you and you and %." Mark cursed very harshly. I didn't know what he did. I only heard the little fatty making a whimpering sound, and my mother-in-law shout, "Don't cover his mouth so hard. Let go. Hurry up and let go. Don't suffocate him. If he keeps crying, we'll all die." Mark's voice was hoarse, but at last, there was no more howling from the little fatty. The horn of the truck over there was still blaring. After there was no more noise here, the zombies would naturally walk towards the truck, and they could escape unscathed. I watched through the telescope as the zombies gradually walked back towards the truck. I was quite disappointed. Why didn't the little fatty cry for a while longer? More zombies could have come, overturned their car, or squeezed the car window glass until it burst. It would have been great to wipe them out all at once. The car started again and drove out of sight directly. The phone hadn't been hung up yet. I could hear their sighs of relief after surviving the disaster. Suddenly, my mother-in-law let out a howl. Leo, what's wrong with you? the female neighbor, Leo, Leo, wake up. My mother-in-law let out a heart-rending howl. My Leo, you killed my son. The female neighbor also let out a howl. Mark's roar. Shut up all of you. Do you want to attract the zombies again? In that situation just now. If he kept crying, could we have gotten away? Do you want to all die? There, it's all that bitch Faith's fault. She killed my son. When I find her, I'll skin her alive. Mark's vicious voice came from the other end of the phone. My scalp tingled. Clearly, he was the one who suffocated his own son to death, yet he could actually blame it on me. I also wanted to see whether he would skin me or I would shoot his head off this time. 20. The truck had sufficient battery power, and the horn had been blaring for 4 days and was still making noise early in the morning. I stood on the rooftop with a telescope to check the situation. There were no zombies around the courtyard. There were more and more zombies near the truck, even at the end of the road. There were zombies staggering around. I even saw several workers who had picked apples for us before, and they had actually all turned into zombies. I felt a bit uncomfortable. I put down the telescope and took out my phone, only to find that there was no signal. On the 4th day of the apocalypse, the internet was also cut off here. My mom could only use the hard drive to binge-watch dramas. Fortunately, we had been downloading at full internet speed these days, and the hard drives we bought were already full. In short, we didn't have to worry about not having dramas to watch, movies to see, or games to play in the next few years. If worst came to worst, we still had the little king of video games. My mom made a cake. As soon as I came down from the rooftop, she brought out the freshly baked cake. It smelled so good, paired with a cup of coconut milk coffee. It was simply perfect. Daughter, what do you want to eat for lunch? Mom will make it for you. My mom handed me the tablet, which was full of pictures of delicious food, such as salt and pepper mantis shrimp, spicy stir-fried crabs, honey-glazed chicken wings, crispy streaky pork, garlic-flavored roasted lamb chops, big skewers of beef. It was simply amazing. I asked my mom, can I order whatever I want? Yeah, order whatever you want. Mom can make it for you. My mom was simply amazing. She was a treasure of a mom. I immediately said, spicy stir-fried crabs, garlic-flavored roasted lamb chops, and honey-glazed chicken wings. For the drink, I want watermelon coconut milk. Mom, would it be too much if I said I wanted a dessert too? Vanilla ice cream. My mom poked my forehead. Okay, Mom will satisfy you. Ah, Mom, I love you to death. I threw myself into my mom's arms and gave her a loud kiss. This wasn't the apocalypse at all. This was clearly the happy life of this mama's girl. 21. I don't know where Mark and the others have gone or if they're even dead. After the truck honked for 7 days, it stopped making noise. Those zombies scattered everywhere. Many of them fell into the 2 big pits I dug, and some were wandering around outside the courtyard in 2s and 3s. I originally wanted to shoot them. I had already aimed at them when I realized that shooting one zombie with one shot in zombie movies only looked very satisfying. After experiencing it myself, I knew that just aiming at the head of something that used to be human was enough to make me feel physically uncomfortable. Forget it, I might as well keep them to guard the door. The hens in the courtyard laid eggs. Now, the 6 hens can lay 3 or 4 eggs every day, and there is also a rooster that crows every morning. I was originally worried that it might attract the zombies outside the courtyard, but I found that the zombies were just swaying against the wall. After the rooster stopped crowing, they dispersed. There was no danger, and it could even attract them to wander around nearby. The effect of guarding the door was excellent, so I didn't care about it anymore. The chives I planted sprouted. My mom said that chives grew well, especially when it rained. They grew very fast. After cutting one batch, they would grow again. I said that it was just like stock investors. When there was good news, they would rise rapidly, and there would always be more batches to cut, and they could never be completely cut off. My mom, so you must never invest in stocks. Your dad's former boss was on the verge of jumping off a building because of stock losses back then. I heard that he's at it again recently and has lost several million. His wife has even run away. Me, I can't invest in stocks even if I want to now. Mom, besides chives, what other vegetables grow well? My mom, there are plenty. For example, water spinach. Look. The mint that you always like to use to make tea also grows very well. You basically don't need to take much care of it, and it will be lush. You even have to cut a batch every now and then to feed the chickens, otherwise, you won't be able to finish eating it at all. Then I'll eat more and not give it to the chickens. I smiled slyly, picked up the bucket, and went to look at the fish. Basically, all the fish fry that I released before had survived. I just need to throw some fish feed in every day. By the time the fish in the refrigerator are finished, these little fish fry will be big enough to eat. It couldn't be more wonderful. 22. On the night of the 8th day after the zombie virus broke out, there were continuous explosions in the small town at the foot of the mountain, and there was a sea of fire. The zombies wandering around near the courtyard were attracted by the sound and swayed down the mountain. I wonder what happened to the people in the town. I sighed and went back to my room to sleep. Daughter, wake up. There's a car coming, early in the morning. I was woken up by my mom. Mark appeared again. When I went to the rooftop, their car was parked in front of the excavator that I had parked horizontally in the middle of the road. The truck on the halfway up the mountain had been moved away. I guess the explosions last night had attracted all the zombies away. Mark and the others took the opportunity to come up the mountain. Fortunately, I still had a backup plan. Now they were blocked in front of the bulldozer and couldn't move forward any further. After all, there was a key in the small truck. If you could open the door, you could drive it. But the bulldozer didn't have such a situation. Mark didn't have the ability to pick the lock, so he could only curse around the bulldozer. After a while, he went back to the car and took a hammer to smash the window glass of the bulldozer. My in-laws and that woman also got out of the car and looked around cautiously. I wasn't afraid of trouble while watching the excitement. I ran downstairs to get the drone. This thing had a high-definition camera and could clearly capture Mark and the others in the air. The sound pickup effect was also excellent, and it could even pick up my mother-in-law's muttering clearly. Mark, the female neighbor, was the first to notice the drone and pointed at it and shouted at Mark. He stopped the action of smashing the glass and stared at the drone. The flesh on his face was twitching, and he looked as ferocious as a ghost seeking revenge. 23. Wife, I know you're there. Can you let me in? Husband was wrong. Husband really knows he was wrong. I won't dare to do it again in the future. Will you forgive husband this time? Mark threw away the hammer in his hand and cried and kowtowed towards the drone. Seeing that I didn't respond, he suddenly slapped himself in the face. It's all husband's fault. It's right for you to be angry with me. Blame me. It's all my fault. Wife, just let me in and you can hit me as much as you want until you're willing to forgive me. Okay. His face was visibly red and swollen, showing that he had really hit himself hard. I grabbed a handful of melon seeds and ate them while watching. My mom even specially brought me a bottle of wanglaji. Eating too many melon seeds will make you have internal heat. Drink something to reduce the heat. Mom is the best. I took a big sip of the wanglaji. It was icy cold and refreshing. It's all your fault. It's you slut, who seduced me. Otherwise, how could I have taken a fancy to you? Seeing that I still ignored him, Mark suddenly turned his anger on the female neighbor. My father-in-law beside him raised his foot and kicked the female neighbor hard, saying, "Hurry up and kneel down to apologize to my daughter-in-law. It's all because of you, you bitch, that caused this mess between them as a couple. I really admire them. They truly are father and son." The female neighbor knelt down crying and howled at the drone. "I was wrong, wife. It's all this bitch who seduced me. She pulled me to a hotel room when I was drunk, and then she said she was pregnant. She cried and made a scene, insisting that I marry her. This bitch doesn't even take a look at herself in the mirror. With her behavior, she doesn't deserve to be my wife." Mark grabbed the female neighbor's hair and stared at the drone. "Wife, I'll avenge you right now." With 2 slaps, he hit the female neighbor in the face. Mark was still cursing foully. "You slut, who told you to provoke my wife? You even said she couldn't have children. Even if my wife can't have children, she's still my wife. What you gave birth to is a bastard." 24. I didn't. Just as the female neighbor made a sound, Mark slapped her in the face several more times, extremely hard. Blood even flowed out from the corner of her mouth. "Weren't you being arrogant before? You even showed off in front of my wife." Mark dragged the female neighbor by her hair and walked forward. The female neighbor didn't struggle at first, but suddenly she seemed to realize something and struggled violently. "Let go of me, let me go." There was the big pit I dug ahead. When Mark climbed the excavator to smash the window just now, he should have seen the zombies inside. He actually wanted to throw the female neighbor in. "Help, Mom and Dad. save me," the female neighbor howled and clung tightly to Mark, preventing him from throwing her down. She also called for my in-laws, unexpectedly, my in-laws actually. Pried the female neighbor's hands apart from left and right and helped Mark throw her down. I was horrified. I grabbed the Juga repeating crossbow. I absolutely couldn't let them live. "Wife, look, I've avenged you." Mark looked at the drone and showed a ferocious smile. I also aimed at his head and shot an arrow from the crossbow, but it missed and hit his arm instead. Fortunately, the Juga repeating crossbow could shoot 6 arrows at once. Without hesitation, I pulled the trigger continuously. After the first arrow, he turned around and ran. My second and third arrows all hit his back. It was not until the last arrow hit him right in the back of the head that he fell heavily to the ground. "Ah, murder!" My mother-in-law let out a howl. My father-in-law beside her actually turned and ran. He didn't care about his son anymore and also abandoned his wife. The car made a turn and sped away. My mother-in-law stood there in a daze, looking at my father-in-law who had disappeared with disbelief. Then she looked at her son who was lying on the ground motionless. She seemed to have all her strength drained out of her and slowly slumped to the ground. 25. I had already picked up another Juga repeating crossbow with an arrow loaded. Seeing this scene, I put it down. Forget it. It was just like this anyway. My mother and I went downstairs to play the game. It Takes Two. I was actually the one holding us back. My mother played even better than me. I really couldn't stand it. Forget it, my brain isn't good. I must have inherited it from my dad. After finishing a game, I held a cup of milk tea and went back to the rooftop. I found that the zombies in the pit had actually climbed up from the side slope. They should have been attracted by the smell of blood and pounced on Mark's body, biting and tearing at it. "Your mother-in-law." My mother pointed at the woods by the roadside. My mother-in-law was already lying on the ground motionless, and the one gnawing at her was the already mutilated female neighbor. This family was reunited in a rather strange way, except for my father-in-law, was quite disappointed that he had run away. I should have practiced my aim with the Juga repeating crossbow more so that I could hit one target with one shot. In the end, I shot 6 arrows at one person and almost failed to kill him, but my father-in-law would definitely come back. I didn't slack off at all. I shot at the target every day, determined to directly shoot him in the head when he came again. Unexpectedly, more than half a year passed, and my father-in-law never showed up again. My mother said that he should be dead. After all, with so many zombies outside, it was no wonder that an old man in his 60s like him couldn't find a shelter and died. Anyway, it didn't affect my mother and me from continuing to live our small life. "Mom, let's have a barbecue on the terrace tonight." "Sure. Mom will go and skewer the food now." My mother happily went to work. In the past 6 months, she either planted vegetables and fed the chickens or cooked delicious food for me. Fortunately, I practiced with the crossbow and did exercise every day. Otherwise, I would have become a 200-pound fat woman already. In the dead of night, the whole world was shrouded in darkness. The lights on the terrace of my house were still on, and the barbecue meat was sizzling and oozing oil. In this apocalypse, my mother and I took a bite of the barbecue meat and a sip of the watermelon coconut milk with plenty of ice. It was simply wonderful. "All right then, I don't have to worry about you anymore." Extras. It has been more than 5 years since the zombie virus broke out. My mother and I were playing the game, It Takes Two, again. We had already cleared the game for the 3rd time. Suddenly, my phone screen lit up. It was a text message. "The zombie cleanup is in progress. Please go to the relief stations by yourselves to receive supplies if you are in need and are in the safe areas." Mom, there's internet again. I jumped up and handed the phone to my mother to show her. The relevant departments had been gradually releasing the addresses for receiving supplies and informed everyone that the zombies in the surrounding areas had been cleared and they could go there with confidence. As I scrolled through my phone, I suddenly found that the car at the car accident scene posted by a netizen in the same city looked familiar. Then I saw the license plate number, which was Mark's car. In the video, my father-in-law staggered out of the car. Before he could run a few steps, he was knocked down by the zombies beside him. The posting date was 5 years ago. It should be that this netizen took the video and tried to upload it, but the internet was cut off, and it couldn't be uploaded until now. When the internet was restored, it was automatically uploaded successfully. I scrolled through it. All the videos were shot 5 years ago, and there were almost no recent ones. I don't know how Many survivors there are left, but fortunately, we have all survived. It's finally over. Story 2. I work at a small local firm where the pay is decent, and overtime trips are the norm. I live alone in a loft apartment and have a cat. It was a Tuesday noon when I received what seemed like a prank text message. I had just come back from a long field assignment, and my boss had graciously given me a week off. I parked my car back in the garage. It was an SUV I had bought years ago. Change is coming. 5 days, zombies. I frowned, swiped away the message, and muttered, how boring. It was a hot September noon in the city. After grabbing a quick bite outside, I planned to go home for a shower and a long sleep. Change is coming. For 5 days, zombies. The message arrived again, followed by a short VCR link. I clicked on it and felt nauseous. The video showed surveillance footage from an office building in a neighboring city, where several skeletal figures with flesh clinging to their bones were shuffling in an eerie manner. I spent 3 minutes thinking. I decided to believe it. It was 3 p.m. The sun was scorching, typical of the city to have intense sunshine following a heavy rain the day before. First, I went home and checked my food and supplies. I live on the 25th floor, the topmost, in a duplex apartment without any security grills. I immediately called contractors to install security grills and replace all my windows with bulletproof tempered glass, outside my existing security door. I added a fire door, since I paid extra. Everything was installed by around 5:30 p.m. I had half a barrel of oil at home, a small bag of rice, and no stocks of grain. There was plenty of cat food, though, but my water dispenser was nearly empty. I chuckled helplessly. Indeed, without prior notice, I would be totally unprepared. The cleaning lady I hired had the house spotless in an hour. At 6 in the evening, I took my cat to the vet for vaccinations and a bath, while it was being bathed. I bought cat food, canned cat food, snacks, litter, and more. These supplies would last a long time. I stuffed my SUV full, filling even the seats, and made 2 trips. After dropping off my cat and the cat food at home, I headed to Walmart. Since it was late, Walmart's shelves were nearly empty, so I cleared out all the available sanitary pads, instant noodles, compressed biscuits, tissues, laundry detergent, rice, oil, salt, and more. The supermarket staff, smiling broadly, delivered a truckload of goods to my door, but it wasn't enough. As a woman, I couldn't just go out as men might. Staying home was the best protection for me. At 9 in the evening, I ordered dozens of barrels of drinking water on JD.com, expecting them to be delivered by the next morning. Water is crucial. At 9:30, I went to the pharmacy and bought out all the anti-inflammatory drugs, alcohol, masks, and other essentials. The pharmacy was reluctant to sell some prescription drugs, but after I handed over 200 yuan, they didn't fuss about it. At 10 at night, I stood in my living room, knowing it still wasn't enough. After taking a bath, just as I was about to drag myself to bed exhausted, my phone rang. Change is coming. 4 days, zombies. I checked my phone. It was midnight, Wednesday. After making sure all the doors and windows were securely locked, I drifted into a deep sleep. It wasn't until after 10 a.m. the next day that a call from the water delivery guy from JD.com woke me up. I quickly got out of bed, instructing him to neatly stack the water jugs in the guest room, which almost filled it up completely. His surprised look was selectively ignored by me. Then, I headed out to the supermarket again. I bought a lot of preserved foods and a bunch of other groceries including rice, oil, salt, soy sauce, vinegar, instant noodles, self-heating hot pots. Enough supplies that I wouldn't need to step outside for a year. Oh, and electricity and water. I cleared out the portable chargers from an electronics store next to the supermarket, making sure they were fully charged. Before taking them, I bought thick blackout curtains and several home fire extinguishers. I also purchased thermal insulation wallpaper to cover all the walls in my home and several large, deep barrels, which I filled with tap water. I acquired several sets of fully equipped gas masks and protective clothing. I contacted a friend to help me buy some prohibited knives from a shady store, along with climbing ropes and protective gear. After some thought, I also bought the most advanced water filter available and had it installed in the bathroom. Having done all this, I received a text message indicating there were still 5 days left. I sat in the beef noodle shop downstairs, eating while browsing videos on Bilibili on how to tie knots. By 8 p.m., I was at the bookstore, picking up a pile of books I had wanted to read but never had the time. The world might be nearing its end. But I didn't want to hide at home and become just another survivor wasting away, since my loft apartment had a private elevator directly to my parking spot and no one could reach my floor without an access card. I thought it through and decided to buy some medicines, more food, water, and protective gear to store in my car. I also took the car to be serviced, the tires reinflated, the tank filled up, and I secretly slipped the worker $200 to load a few large gasoline canisters in my car, along with a portable fuel pump. At 10 p.m., I returned home. The underground garage was silent, brightly lit. Seemingly unchanged, my phone chimed. A message from my best friend Ella. Heard you're on leave. I'm taking tomorrow off too. Coming to visit you. Ella lives in the neighboring city, the one recorded on the VCR. I couldn't help but blame myself for being so preoccupied with stocking up that I'd forgotten about my best friend. After all, I still wasn't sure what the source of this zombie virus was. Whether it was transmitted through bites, saliva, blood, or simply by looking at someone too long. It seemed the news was tightly controlled. The city was still peaceful, I replied. Sure, remember to bring some food. I'm broke at home. Back on the 25th floor, I noticed the emergency light at the safety staircase was on, the dark staircase illuminated by a fluorescent green light, giving me goosebumps. Why was the emergency light on? There was no power outage, having read too many crime novels. And knowing I didn't have the main character's aura of invincibility, I didn't foolishly step out of the elevator to head home. Without hesitation, I didn't step out of the elevator but instead quickly closed the doors and pressed the button to return to the first floor lobby. There were quite a few people in the lobby even past 10 p.m., as several families had recently had a second child. The grandmothers were chattering away, and the lively atmosphere in the lobby gave me, a young woman, a bit of calm. There's safety in numbers. I approached the lobby reception, tapped on the desk to get the attention of the young man engrossed in his phone. He looked up with a smile. What's up? Any parcels? Why is the emergency light on my floor's safety staircase lit? Oh, it's just maintenance, part of a linked circuit. I don't really know how to explain it, but it's just maintenance, nothing to worry about. Why do maintenance at night? Don't the workers go home? Miss, I really don't know, but every floor's emergency light is on. There won't be a power outage, don't worry. We each have our own independent power supply system, I said, still feeling uneasy, given that I live alone, watch too many crime shows, and am actually quite afraid of dying. I asked the front desk to bring security to check things out. Together with about 4 or 5 security guards and a cheerful young man, we went up to the 25th floor. The green emergency lights were still on. The young man, smiling, said, "Come on, I'll show you around, and you won't be scared anymore." The security guards and the young man thoroughly checked every corner of the 25th floor in front of me. Then, they escorted me down from the 25th floor via the safety stairs, floor by floor. Everything seemed normal and logical. "Don't worry, call the police immediately if anything happens," the young man from the front desk said. Considering how expensive the monthly property fee is, it suddenly seemed worth it. Back on the 25th floor, I pondered for a moment and, risking a serious talk with the property management, I locked the heavy fire door to the safety staircase from the inside. After all the hassle, I got home by 11 p.m., feeling exhausted and helpless. I cleaned up after my cat, took a bath, applied a facial mask, and suddenly thought, damn, I'm almost out of facial masks. No matter how isolated I am, I still have to be a refined girl. I immediately ordered a bunch of facial masks from Tmall supermarket, guessing they would be delivered by the next morning. Just as I was thinking this, my phone beeped again. Zombies, change of weather, 2 days. I woke up naturally around 8 a.m. It felt like I hadn't dreamed, yet it seemed I had dreamed about something, a sensation like having visited a parallel dimension. I opened the windows of my apartment to let in some air. The only view was of a decent-looking artificial lake among the reinforced concrete buildings. A group of elderly men and women were using the community's fitness equipment, and a commuter rushing to catch the subway nearly bumped into a woman pushing a stroller. It was so quiet and ordinary. How could there possibly be a change in the weather? I began to doubt that it was just some kind of prank. Ella called, saying she was at the entrance of the complex. I tidied up, closed the windows, drew the heavy blackout curtains, checked everything carefully, and left, for some reason. The emergency lights that had suddenly turned on last night made me vaguely feel that something was about to happen. I met up with Ella, who indeed had brought a lot of food. I went with her to a nearby farmer's market and bought several large green plants. This was thanks to a sudden thought I had while cleaning up after my cat the night before. If zombies really came and there was no electricity or water, what would I do about my waste? Surely, plants are the best solution. Ella looked skeptical. You can barely manage yourself, and you're trying to manage plants. What do you know? Help me carry them. Then we bought a lot of portable gas stoves and solid alcohol. I even secretly got a big bag of flint from the owner. Noticing a nearby outdoor survival gear store, I dragged Ella inside and swept through items like searchlights, oxygen tanks, and candles. As Ella helped me carry things, she explained to the shopkeeper that her company was preparing for a team-building survival training exercise. In the car, Ella asked me, "Have you gone mad, buying all this stuff?" "I'll explain later. Think about what else we might need to stay home, and we'll buy those too." Sure, a Wang Yiba poster, Soda Green album. Ella is my childhood friend, a psychologist working in the psychiatric department of a city hospital in the neighboring city. After we lugged everything upstairs, Ella opened a bottle of soda. "What's really going on? Damn, is this video from the office building next door?" Ella was shocked. "It must be a composite, or maybe they're filming." "It's not a composite." I followed a tutorial and conducted a technical analysis of the video. "That's the busiest office building in your city, with so many companies. Why would they use it for filming?" Ella dismissed it with a, "It's fake," and then went to take a shower. The phone rang with a text message. "Zombies, change in weather." One day, I paused for a moment and called the number back. Had tried calling back before, but it was either busy or turned off. The call went through, but there was silence. Fearfully, I asked, "Who is this?" No sound came from the other end. It was as quiet as if the universe's abyss lay on the other side, utterly silent, eerily quiet, deathly still. Suddenly, a rustling sound from behind startled me. "It's me," Ella said, rubbing her damp hair. "Let me listen." The silence on the phone was unprecedented, a kind of quiet that seems impossible if any carbon-based life form were present. Not even a library with its doors and windows shut could achieve such silence. There was no sound of air movement, as if the space had been filled with molten iron and sealed off. That's how Ella later described the silence to me. Did the person on the other end mute their microphone or something? I didn't finish my sentence when suddenly a harsh, grating noise erupted from the other end, like the sound of a rusty needle scraping on an old record player, giving me goosebumps. The sporadic and eerie screeching made my head start to ache. "Damn it, hang up." Ella snatched the phone from me. The night passed without dreams, or so it seemed. I couldn't remember clearly. It felt as though my brain retained traces of brightly colored patches, which could have been mosaics or perhaps like the static on a TV screen from my childhood. What were these memory patches from the long 8+ hours of the night? I took out an old bottle of medicinal oil and rubbed it on my temples. "Do you smell something strange?" Ella suddenly turned and looked at me. At that moment, I was holding the cat, waiting in line at the vet for a deworming treatment. "Maybe it's the smell of disinfectant from the vet's office, but I've been smelling it since we left the house today." Ella tightened her mask over her nose, fogging up her glasses in an instant. "It's a faint smell, like expired olanzapine." "What's olanzapine?" "It's a type of psychiatric medication." Ella pulled out her phone to show me. Olanzapine, a new atypical antipsychotic medication, interacts with dopamine receptors, 5-HT receptors, and cholinergic receptors, having antagonistic effects. Antagonism of the D2 receptor is related to the treatment of the positive symptoms of schizophrenia. Antagonism of the 5-HT2A receptor is related to the treatment of the negative symptoms. "You see, these people definitely aren't in good health," Ella whispered to me as I comforted our newly dewormed cat, following her gaze toward a group of men waiting for a bus nearby. Their skin was an unhealthy, jaundiced yellow. "As a doctor, I'm telling you, that's a sure sign of liver issues." Ella clicked her tongue. "You should take care of your health." "What exactly does that smell like?" "Never mind." Ella shook her head. "It's probably just me being in the hospital too long. Let's head back home early." "Okay." I rubbed our cat's belly, which it enjoyed so much that it started purring, its chubby paws curling in a comforting and peaceful manner. After the vet, We went to the supermarket and bought some vegetables like cabbage, corn, and potatoes which have a relatively long shelf life. Let's just stay home and rest for a while. Better safe than sorry, Ella nudged me, pursing her lips. Besides, I can cuddle with Wang Yiba. We got home around 4 in the afternoon. The weather forecast predicted thunderstorms, and looking at the murky skies, it seemed likely. It looks like it might really rain soon. The emergency light is on. Is there a power outage scheduled for your complex? Just as I had carefully reversed the car into the garage, Ella pointed at the glowing green emergency light above the safety stairwell entrance. Another maintenance check. This, Ella frowned. Let's quickly grab our stuff and head home, and I'll read through selected works of Mao a few times to calm myself down. We meticulously inspected the 25th floor, making sure once again that the fire door to the safety stairwell was locked, and then sighed in relief. We double-checked all the doors and windows were locked, drew the curtains, and organized the supplies we had accumulated over the past few days. If that text message was accurate, then tomorrow would be the day, or rather, in about 8 hours, the change mentioned in the message would occur. Ella and I collapsed on the sofa, the TV series playing softly in the background, broadcasting a recording of the Tokyo Olympics from years ago. Do you think zombies are as disgusting as that Japanese athlete who stepped out of bounds yet still won the gold medal? Ella, with her face mask on, made it hard for me to see her teasing expression. Zombies, the term, originates from Haitian Vodou culture. According to Vodou beliefs, a sorcerer can resurrect the dead who are then also referred to as zombies. The inspiration behind the zombie image: these resurrected beings can move and use tools, but they lack free will and are controlled by the person who performed the resurrection ritual, like soulless puppets, thus often treated as slaves. I scrolled through Wikipedia, and this text caught my eye. Our perception and fear of zombies come from Western media, but their characteristics are somewhat stereotypical. For instance, they bite at the sight of normal humans but not their own kind. They can still move and bite to infect humans even with a broken cervical spine. I smell that scent again. Ella, washing off her facial mask, suddenly exclaimed, "There's that smell in the water." I shuddered and got up to turn the air conditioning up 2 degrees. When I was washing my face, some water got into my mouth. It tasted bitter, Ella said, gulping down bottled water to rinse her mouth. Pentobarbital sodium, odorless, bitter taste. It's a controlled psychotropic substance, used to treat seizures caused by tetanus, meningitis, and poisoning from central nervous system stimulants, and can also be used to treat status epilepticus. Psychotropic drugs are really harsh on the liver, Ella continued. Just then, my phone pinged with a new message. Ella and I exchanged glances. I shrank back but quickly grabbed my phone, fearful that missing those couple of seconds might cost us a chance to survive. I swiped open the message. Have you completed those dozens of audit drafts? The deadline is tomorrow, remember? Ella rolled her eyes. That message is as terrifying as a zombie alert. 5. I glanced at the clock. The hour hand was just short of 11. After 2 hours of frantic work on my computer trying to finish the drafts before the deadline, I twisted my neck, and my long inactive bones made several crisp cracking sounds. Great, you're the perfect embodiment of the saying. No holidays for workers unless the earth explodes, Ella said without looking up. If there really are zombies tomorrow, do you think we'll open the door to find Alice coming to rescue us, or the big boss rushing you for reports? No more texts pinged my phone, just occasional notifications about a video upload from an uploader or new products on Taobao. I sneaked the curtains open a crack. There was no one around in the complex. All was quiet. Can you still smell something odd in the tap water? I was about to rinse my mouth when I suddenly remembered something and stopped. I really can't smell it. Ella tilted her head, thought for a moment, then suddenly jumped up and rummaged through her bag for a box of pH test strips. You really are a unique one, carrying such things around. I'll give it a try. Ella dipped a toothpick into some tap water and touched it to the center of the test strip. Seconds later, the small strip turned a deep green. At 3 in the morning, I closed my laptop. While Ella was still scrolling through some videos, there were no notifications on my phone. If there really were zombies, who would text me to let me know? I muttered to myself, who knows, maybe the whole world knows you're the most afraid to die. I woke up groggy at past 9 in the morning after 6 hours of sleep. My dreams seemed filled again with those vivid, colorful patches, blocks of colors, either one by one or merging into a dizzying, large patch, occasionally losing color, turning into the white static of an old TV with no signal. These chaotic, sourceless memories were irritating and nauseating. Ella tried to call the municipal water service to complain about the water's alkalinity, but couldn't get through. The eerie, for Elise, ringtone played on repeat, but no one answered. The gas supply seemed normal, though we noticed that the flames were burning in an insufficient yellow-red color. After using bottled water for our morning wash, we discussed whether to go outside. When I suddenly caught sight of several people across the street below, they had just stepped out of their building, seemingly having smelled something odd. As I noticed, they all immediately covered their noses and mouths, turned, and ran back inside. One even bent over to vomit after just a few steps. What was wrong with the air outside? Thinking this, I opened the long-muted residents group chat. What's with the air outside? I can hardly breathe. Someone typed frantically, I've already told the elderly and children not to go outside. What's going on? I feel like I'm going to ascend to heaven if I stay out a second longer. I vomited, got choked the moment I stepped outside. I'm not even going to work. What's going on outside? Ella grew more puzzled. Hey, that's not right. Look at those trees. Following Ella's pointing finger, I was shocked to see the trees in front of the opposite building visibly rotting, displaying an unseasonal moldy yellow. Can't they breathe? No. Ella suddenly responded, it's because the concentration of nitrogen in the air has sharply increased. Nitrogen itself is not harmful to humans, but at slightly elevated concentrations, people may experience mild headaches, nausea, vomiting, hallucinations, and excitement. Our hospital has been overwhelmed with severe cases these past few days, Ella said while scrolling through her phone. We've done monitoring. Can't find the disease focus, but the organs are failing. Our home air purifier had been running continuously, now making a persistent rustling noise. Is this a prelude to a zombie apocalypse? Ella turned to ask, do people with organ failure even have the biological basis to become zombies? Looking out the window, there were no people visible in the neighborhood anymore. I heard that someone had called the police. Fully armed personnel in white isolation suits arrived, collected some blood and air samples, and left. Why was this happening? The air outside, the tap water. Those people, what was going on? 6. The date warned by that mysterious text message was already more than halfway past. Alkaline water, lights turning on by themselves, the strange composition of the air. Could zombies mean something else? I wondered. In the evening, we each prepared a self-heating hot pot, our abundant supplies even allowing us to add a couple of marinated eggs. With a slurp, Ella sucked a piece of spicy beef tripe into her mouth. It was so hot that she shivered. Some say it's mass suppression. She was browsing a forum that was abuzz with discussions about strange patients admitted to various major hospitals. As we were talking, my phone suddenly rang with the same number again, and a new VCR was sent over. Ella and I looked at each other in confusion. This is from the City Water Supply Company. I recognized the blurry logo in the video background. It's the water treatment plant. In the video, a man wearing a cap stood beside a large centrifugal pump, pouring buckets of something into it. The water, mixed with unknown substances, was being pumped into the water supply network under pressure. I grimaced. Sending this to me is pointless. I can't save the world. I just want to survive until things go back to normal. Ella rolled her eyes. Stop watching. Just eat your food. As night fell, we drifted into a deep sleep until a piercing noise woke us up. We cautiously peeked through the curtains. The sky was a fiery red, and across the street, several men were yelling something out of their windows. Look at the color of the sky. Isn't the light pollution severe? I muttered, in a trance. I faintly heard the sound of a helicopter slowly fading away. What are they doing? Ella widened her eyes, looking downstairs. Following her gaze, we could see a group of people in the neighborhood garden, heads bowed, completely motionless. Perhaps it was the angle or the distance, but they seemed as still as stones, or like statues made of hardened cement. The men shouting in the building were cursing in a dialect, and from this distance, it was impossible to make out what they were complaining about. Is there anything mentioned in the group chat? Ella pulled me back to bed and tightly closed the curtains. I opened the WeChat homeowners group, and sure enough, there were over 99 plus messages. My dog has been barking at these weird people all night. Yeah, where do they live? I've never seen them before. Was that piercing noise made by them? They really haven't moved at all. My husband has been watching them all night. By 6 a.m., the blood-red sky slowly faded into a lifeless gray-white, unknown to us. As the heavy night lifted, one of the people in the garden, whose complexion had turned from yellow to nearly black, moved his head suddenly. His stiff neck and bones made a faint crackling sound as he slowly turned his head, his gaze fixed on a particular building, to be precise. It wasn't a gaze but a waxen yellow eye socket and a gray-white eyeball. What was he looking at? We'd been cooped up at home for a week now, afraid to go outside. We obediently followed the government's instructions, waiting for the day when things would improve. I had sent the final draft to my boss just before the deadline, not sure if he had reviewed it. The audit report I was supposed to write was also completed, along with the substantive risk drafts. Ella had finished updating all the electronic medical records she needed to. We spent our days clinging to our electronic devices, our usually busy 996 or 007. Life, which never allowed for timely meals, was gradually becoming normal. I used to be too busy to eat breakfast. The polyps on my gallbladder should have healed by now. I smacked my lips on a bowl of simple mashed potatoes with just salt and potatoes, mumbling to myself. Now with some free time, Ella had been catching up on various variety shows and dramas, and it seemed she was watching Empresses in the Palace for the second time. If people really have souls, Ella asked me, the Prince of Gua should have realized that Jinhuan's child was his, right? The life Ella and I were leading, hiding at home waiting for order to be restored, seemed to have entered a new normal within the abnormal. Only occasionally were there noises of heavy objects crashing down from high places and the routine roar of helicopters flying past every day at 5 in the morning. A week ago, that morning, as the heavy night was torn open by the not-so-bright sunlight, someone who had woken up early stood at their home's windowsill, but the next second, let out a long, piercing scream from shock. The sudden shift in the air composition outside not only startled the withered leaves off the buildings but also alarmed the people who sought refuge indoors due to the change. The group of people, gaunt with yellowish complexions, displayed seemingly frail bodies, extremely sallow skin, and cracked lips. Unlike characters in movies who fear sunlight or ultraviolet rays, they occasionally erupted into frenzies or fell into silences, often expending seemingly futile strength to bang on the tightly locked doors beneath each building. Their numbers grew, with their waxen skin and pale, grayish eyes becoming more prominent. They seemed desperate to get inside the buildings. I scrolled through the neighborhood WeChat group, where people shared eerie videos daily, asking, "Is it really because of that water? What else could it be?" Ella replied, tearing open a packet of crispy noodles. She snapped it in half with a crack. "Want some?" "Yes. Like us, everyone must be staying indoors." Scrolling through news submitted by the public daily, the city isn't paralyzed. People are just wary of using tap water these days. My sleep has improved slightly recently. The frequency of colorful blotches that haunted my mind upon waking has decreased. These days of isolation, unable to go outdoors, remind me of a virus outbreak years ago. Though back then, we could still go outside. Back then, I often reread Camus' The Plague. Now, the sudden change in the air forces people to depend on buildings equipped with oxygen and circulation systems. This morning, I woke up to find a small ulcer in my mouth and winced as I sprayed some watermelon frost on it. The number of those abnormal, gaunt people downstairs varies. Some might wander off elsewhere. At times, they suddenly quiet down and then slowly, heavily, breathe in the direction of the air that we cannot tolerate, and that direction is toward the city water plant. They must be suffering too. As time passes, the internet buzzes with analyses, some from supposed insiders describing the situation in chilling terms. Ella and I pieced together some information, but something felt off, the logic incomplete. It likely started with a neighboring city's water company, where an inspector found unlisted substances in a water sample during routine checks. He reported it diligently, but before any prevention measures could take effect, the water system had already been distributing the water everywhere: factories, office buildings, farms. But the changing air composition, inexplicable prophetic texts, and chaotic dreams filled with colorful blotches create a fear that is both real and corrosive. It must be severe liver damage that's causing their skin to look so terribly yellow, Ella said, applying a face mask while cooking a self-heating rice meal. The self-heating meal sizzling with the aroma of chicken with mushrooms and shredded potatoes. Glistened with oil and was laden with preservatives. Compressed biscuits aren't tasty, too hard and salty, but they do fill you up. Water is our biggest daily consumption. Washing hands, face, bathing, using the restroom, and drinking, holding on to the debunked virtue of 8 glasses a day. Ella and I unwittingly use up many bottles of mineral water. Again, a long dream filled with vivid colors plagued my sleep. These vibrant patches suffuse everything within sight, creating an overwhelming sense of transparency. It's as if I'm placed inside a massive prism, surrounded by reflections of myself. At 6 a.m., jolted awake from plummeting in a dream, I rubbed my head and gulped down a lot of water. I turned on my phone. The world of code and binaries hasn't come to a halt. I stroked the cat, and it purred contentedly. Those people acting strangely have damaged nerves and lack self-awareness. They will die soon without energy intake, Ella muttered as she browsed a forum. It's just the air outside. She didn't finish her sentence when suddenly a loud roar came from outside the window. The building seemed like it was about to shatter. We carefully parted the curtains just a sliver. Below, a few gaunt figures with barely any strength left were hitting the building. The government has demolished the water plant, Ella said, scrolling through her phone. Days ago, the water plant was shut down for good. Unknown chemicals poured into it were now reacting chemically within the poor victims' kidneys and livers, simultaneously eroding their nerves. What's wrong with my brain? I rubbed the right side of my head, which throbbed with pain. Lately, I've felt nauseous and anxious for no reason. Even though I've been idling at home more, I've only felt more exhausted. Maybe it's because I've been home too long, eating less fresh fruits and vegetables. The mouth ulcers haven't healed for a long time. Ella said I was overreacting, but even with a grimace and careful movements, the ulcers still stung painfully. Preservative-laden compressed biscuits and MSG-rich instant hot pot seemed to fill every cell of my body, as if a switch had been turned off inside them, and yet abundant sleep remained lifelessly dull. It's all that nonsensical mosaic you told me about, Ella, with a facial mask on. I couldn't read her expression. You're just overthinking things. Get some good sleep. Time seemed to slow down, unable to go out. I could only stealthily part the thick blackout curtains to peek at the outside world every day. I could only remember feeling increasingly fatigued. Back when I was busy with work and lacked rest, the right side of my brain would throb painfully, reminding me I needed a good sleep. But recently, having withdrawn from social interactions and watching the days pass by on my phone's calendar, sleep has become excessive, and my mind has started to feel fragile. I began to think that the dendritic nerves in my brain must be transmitting erroneous signals, causing my forgetfulness, whether it was the freshly boiled water, the newly added cat food, or even my freshly washed face after applying a mask. I walked into the bedroom, thinking to open a new barrel of water for the dispenser, and Ella came over. Let me help you with that. You're too frail. I stared blankly as the water dispenser's indicator light switched from red to green. What are you doing? Ella suddenly slapped my back, startling me so much that I spilled the powdered milk I was preparing. Why would you scare me like that? I muttered. You know I get easily frightened. Coward, Ella responded dismissively. Drink some milk. I'll clean up. I seemed to have grown fond of spacing out. By the time I realized I had been sitting on the sofa for a long while, it had already gotten dark. My thoughts were muddled, and everything above my neck felt heavy and exhausted. I shook my head and got up to add some cat food for the cat. The cat lay lazily in its bed, watching me. I stroked her and noticed milk powder on her whiskers. You really are greedy, I murmured as I wiped it off. I went to complain to Ella about the cat sneaking milk powder again. Ella, with a mask on, her expression unclear, her phone casting a greenish glow on her face, somehow felt a bit alien. What do you want to eat? I'll go get something. I leaned against Ella's room door. Ella had been staying here for several days, and the room was filled with her scent. Is it an illusion, or what? For the first time, I felt that this scent, it made me feel a bit less exhausted and chaotic. I'm not eating. Find something for yourself. As night fell, I typically pulled back a corner of the curtain. The sky was still a dark red. There were no more shadows moving around in the neighborhood below, and it was unclear where everyone had gone. I picked up my phone and refreshed it, only to find that the refresh date was stuck a week ago. Had I not noticed that the internet was down, I ran to ask Ella, who didn't even look up. Yes, the internet has been out for a Well, I downloaded this variety show early on. Do you want to watch it with me? I disdainfully declined the noisy and tedious invitation. While brushing my teeth, I noticed my gums were bleeding again. Frustrated, I wiped my mouth with the back of my hand and lay heavily on the bed, putting on a steam eye mask. It seemed like I fell asleep quickly. I must have fallen asleep. I remember seeing a space filled with mosaic tiles, as if I was surrounded by millions of dazzling, colorful facets. Occasionally, my brain felt a sensation of weightlessness, plunging downward, instinctively wanting to grasp something. I looked at my hand and saw it clutching a strand of yellowed, withered hair. Startled, I threw it away, and a dizzying sense of chaos overwhelmed me, with a buzzing sound continuously ringing in my ears, as if screaming to tear apart my nerves. Did I really fall asleep? I must be sick, but only I feel that way. Ella doesn't think so. I lay drowsy in bed, my heart beating so rapidly at times that I could only breathe with my mouth open. Once, Ella brought over a tongue depressor and stimulated my throat, which made me nauseous, but I ended up dry heaving without vomiting anything. Finally, my heart rate slowly calmed down. You just haven't breathed fresh air in a long time. Ella replaced the filter in the air purifier in my room. Go to sleep. You'll feel better when you wake up. It must have been late at night. Otherwise, why was it so quiet around, silent as if filled with molten iron sealed in a column? My hearing became unusually sensitive due to the extreme quiet, as if I could hear the flickering sound of a light bulb dimming due to an electrical issue. I opened the bedroom door. The living room was pitch dark. I groped to turn on the light, and the sudden brightness really made my head throb. I rubbed my eyes hard, and once again, a large swath of green, red, and purple mosaics appeared in my field of vision. I leaned against the wall, standing there for a while until I slowly recovered. The cat must have been asleep too, since I couldn't find her. Usually, when I got up to go to the bathroom, she would come over, wagging her tail and acting affectionate. Ella's room door was also closed, and the gap under the door was pitch black. Was everyone asleep? But I felt very sleepy too, so why was I awake? Another gloomy day. And after finding out my phone finally had internet, I lay in bed, scrolling through over 99 plus unread chat messages. In this digital age, it seemed that data wasn't much affected. My head still felt swollen, and as the days passed, I increasingly noticed I was easily hungry, yet I had no appetite to eat anything. I drank a lot of water, but that didn't help heal the ulcers in my mouth. Has the weather gotten colder? I pulled out a fluffy jacket and turned to ask Ella, who was engrossed in watching some video. Don't you feel cold? At that moment, Ella, wearing a short-sleeved shirt and leaning on the sofa, replied, "You feel cold." "I do feel cold." "You are cold, huh?" Ella tossed me the remote control for the air conditioner. "Set it to a temperature you're comfortable with. Then please take the trash bag to the door," Ella said disdainfully, picking up a heavy-looking black trash bag. "Don't just lie there. Get up and move around." I picked up the damp-feeling trash bag, and as usual, I just left it at the door without opening it. Every time I approach the doorway, I can always feel a faint draft seeping through the cracks, originating from some unknown source of convection. It's very subtle. I once called Ella over to check, but she said it was as silent as the deep sea here, not a single sound to be heard. That night, I must have fallen asleep early, for it felt like I had slept for a very long time. I must have forgotten to take a sip of water before bed. In my dream, my mouth was parched, my chest felt oppressively hot, and I could even feel the dry, cracked skin on my lips. I wanted to touch them, but I couldn't muster any strength. I kept dreaming that I was slamming into a door, over and over, as if wanting to get in, but I couldn't. I tried desperately to breathe, but my muddled consciousness and what felt like compressed organs made every moment uncomfortable. My eyes ached terribly in the dream, whether they were open or closed, and the pressure seemed to swell my head unbearably. I dreamed again of a space filled with chaotic, multicolored patches, the sensation of falling endlessly, the inexplicable palpitations, the panic as I tried to grasp at something, only to hear a heavy thud. Did something fall? It seemed like I woke up, otherwise why would there be people around me? I was truly exhausted, surrounded by an endless mirage of dizzying colors, with the occasional piercing buzz that made me shiver. I wanted to go home and lie down to rest. How could I wander off like this? I really wanted to enter the building in front of me, but the door was too heavy. I was too tired I couldn't even pull the door open, I could only try to crash into it with my body. The main door of the building in front of me was tightly closed, but I could still keenly feel the draft through the door crack, a comfortable breeze created by the air flowing between spaces. I longed to take a deep breath, but even ordinary breathing seemed difficult. The instinct to survive made me desperately want to enter this building, dragging my heavy arms and legs, further exhausting my already weary body. I wanted to find a place to rest before attempting to open the door. I definitely need to make a complaint to the property management when I get a chance. I slowly moved my feet, remembering there was a gazebo next to this building where I could sit and rest. Once I had rested enough, I would open that door and go home, and once home, I could keep on living. And extra, it seems humans have always been struggling against nature, but I know it's all in vain. My childhood was spent during a rampant, life-stealing plague. The sky was either dazzling or gloomy. I never saw the sunny afternoons described in books. Faces were unclear to me, and it was hard to remember everyone I met. I spent the first 28 years of my life under a dome created by humans for survival. It was designed merely for survival because the world outside the dome was beyond the current human capacity to live. My parents always worked hard to change this situation, and growing up around them, I even felt that changing this situation was our family's mission. People can't live under a dome forever. My parents' experiments and ideas received support from a foreign research institution, so when I was very young, our family moved into the laboratory. After completing my studies, I joined my parents in their obsession with creating gene-testing drugs by combining different sequences. Those were the happiest days, where I even met my fiancé, who shared the same aspirations. Everything changed when the supporting research institution changed directors. The new director despised our experiments aimed at human immunity renewal and evolution, criticizing the huge funds spent with no significant progress. One night, desperate for the latest antibody data, my parents injected themselves with a newly developed drug and walked to the edge of the dome. Sneaking out of the door, they left the final formula in my notebook, and never returned. As expected, I was expelled by the research institution. Holding that notebook, I walked alone on the streets of America. I got to know a girl, also an international student. When she was taking her cat for a health check, the cat reached out of its carrier and playfully snagged my backpack's dangling charm as they passed by me. She truly is the kindest girl I've ever met. In this foreign land, she gave me a place to stay and added a touch of warmth to this otherwise dreary environment under the dome. Eventually, she returned to her country after completing her studies, and I secured a job at a research institute in a nearby city. Ostensibly, the institute was focused on pharmaceuticals, but secretly, I used the lab to continue perfecting my formula. She always thought I was a doctor. The white coat I wore seemed to her a symbol of authority. However, I never liked her cat for some reason. Every time I visited her in the neighboring city, she would bring out a special little cotton towel and a water cup printed with designs. Just for me. She is the best girl I've ever known. She told me that she had never seen the real blue sky or breathed natural air since she was born. I silently vowed to help her escape this chaotic dome. About a year ago, I injected my fiancé with a modified serum, and he responded well to it. He even chatted with me, promising to take me out for a good meal when he returned from outside the dome. One deep, dark night, we sneaked into a restricted area. As you know, in a research facility, there are always ways to open the dome. Standing at the exit, he turned to look at me and said, "I won't be gone long, I'll be back soon." Suddenly, I remembered my parents. I wondered if, many years ago, they too had felt a longing for the sheltered, false world they left behind. 5 days, 120 hours later, he returned. His skin was sallow, his lips parched, and his eyes pale, but his heart was still beating strongly, his arterial blood fresh and vibrant. I knew the experiment might have succeeded. After all, he had survived. The world outside the protection of the dome was harsh, with intense ultraviolet rays and solar flares emitting radiation strong enough to kill normal cells, mingled with harmful, abnormal air and atmospheric water vapor carrying nauseating and uncomfortable substances. I took what might be a successful experimental report to my boss, hoping for a bit of encouragement. He flew into a rage, furious that I had conducted another research project behind his back. He accused me of violating scientific ethics and condemned me for using human experiments. He gave me an ultimatum: ordering me to wrap up my work and leave within 5 days. My fiancé held me, and under the thin skin of his gaunt arms, I could faintly see the veins carrying venous blood. Is the formula based on my data refined yet? He asked me softly. I nodded, but the sample data is too limited. You're the only case of survival so far. My fiancé pondered for a moment, then said, you focus on the testing. I'll handle the rest. I didn't know what he was planning to do, perhaps finding more test subjects, maybe more mice or rabbits. I had sacrificed many innocent mice and rabbits. The crucial gene segments had to be human, but I didn't stop him. I watched as he dragged his seemingly exhausted and dried-out body away from the door. One deep night, he returned and told me he had found a large test group for me. My heart sank. I secretly hacked into the surveillance videos of the neighboring city's water supply company and saw him, wearing a cap, pouring large barrels of reagent into the water supply intake. My mind went blank. If successful, we could open the dome. If it failed, everyone inside and outside the dome would suffer unimaginably. But my fiancé said, to succeed, some sacrifices must be made. Reflect on your parents. I fell silent. My parents once struggled for survival outside the dome, floating until they exhausted every bit of energy they could find, and gradually perished. My fiancé used up his last bit of strength at the edge of the dome, one hand dangling over the side, the other leaning against the dome's transparent yet sturdy wall. I wasn't sure if he wanted to leave or break through the dome. Suddenly, I remembered that girl. After a bout of conflicted thoughts, I sent her a video and a message, urging her to stay at home and not venture outside. This was a new drug, crafted from a novel genetic sequence. I couldn't control the people it infected, but at least, for such a good girl, I knew how to protect her from external harm. I accompanied her on her shopping trips, noticing every subtle change in her. Initially, I thought her heightened sense of smell was a good thing. Cultivating a being with advanced sensory capabilities was part of my design. As I hoped, she stayed indoors with me when the outside world became chaotic. However, the constant failure to meet expectations frustrated me. I often hid in my room, where I had installed a barrier device to ensure my own safety. Sometimes, out of pity, I'd invite her to watch TV shows with me, to breathe in some specially treated air to feel a bit better, but she didn't like watching them. I knew that every cell in her body was undergoing changes daily, just like many others in the city. Some changes were obvious, while others adapted well. Endless data streamed to me, and during many quiet nights, I remotely monitored lab data from my room. I guessed that in her dreams, she would see colorful mosaics, tranquil yet shimmering mosaics, all gifts from me. The world of sleep was pitch black, boundless and silent. Only these vibrant colors could stimulate her dopamine secretion and the death and regeneration